Good morning, Philippines. Good morning, world. We are now gearing up on the last day of a two-day event of the 25th National Convention online. Let's all be together in silence for the invocation. May we have on board the Executive Vice President of Metro CBD Chapter, Ms. Melissa Chan Hidalgo, to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, in a special way, we consecrate this coming 2 days of our National Convention to you as we embark as an association with the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, headed by our Housing Secretary, Eduardo Del Rosario, to build a healthy ecosystem that will provide housing for the hardworking Filipinos who are based not only in our islands, but also in other countries as overseas Filipino workers, so as to improve the lives of their families by way of education and by buying their own dream homes. Bless our real estate ecosystem with dynamic individuals and institutions that will make this dream a reality. We pray that more than acquiring more knowledge, we may also gain wisdom to know how each part of the real estate industry is closely linked to each other. Let us strive not to get ahead, but rather to move forward together, hand in hand with the civic, church leaders, and public officials, to build not just quality homes, but lasting and sustainable communities. Lord, we pray for a robust financing system and a transparent, seamless transactions in giving the Filipino people quality homes in this time of pandemic. Grant all of us the grace and openness to receive the wisdom that our speakers would be imparting to us in this coming 2 days of our National Convention. We ask this through Christ our Lord, with the intercession of our Blessed Virgin Mary and her blessed spouse, who, Saint Joseph, who in his own way as a carpenter, built a home for their little family in Nazareth. May God's name ever be blessed. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philippine National Anthem. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Alma Grace Sara of Narea Baguio Car Chapter. With me is my co-host for this big event, no other than our very own National Trustee and President of the Education and Information Committee, Mr. Rodolfo Leonen. To start with, let's recognize the people behind whose individual strength, wit, power, and immeasurable leadership commitment who have come together and equally contributed significant myriad of successes in the real estate and housing industry. May we have a photo screen of our founder, Jose V. Manalad, an iconic veteran of the real estate industry who served as a steward for his vision of the one-stop shop organization, born on June 19, 1931, and bid his final farewell in January 24, 2021, on the turning point of NREA's 30th year of existence. Let us give moment of silence for the repose of our beloved founder, Jose Ca Pepe Manalad. Sir Rod, may you have the honor to introduce our Board of Trustees and officers?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I have the honor to introduce to you our Board of Trustees and Officers for 2021. We have, of course, our Chairman of the Board, past President, Benigno Gabrieto Jr., and our immediate past President, Ricky Celis, and Board Chairman. We also have our new beauteous and gorgeous President of Enria National, CPA Broker Appraiser Consultant, Imelda Magtoto. Then we have our Executive Vice President, Red Rosales, and our Pinoy Handsome Broker Appraiser Consultant, Joby Francis W. Tupas, our Vice President for Internal Affairs. Then we have Eduardo N. Sanchez Jr., the Vice President for Internal Affairs, and who initiated the maiden issue of our Enria newsletter that will also be improved later for other publication. Then we have our beauteous and gorgeous, beautiful lady, Zenaida S. Fruto, who is our Vice President for Chapters. Then we have our handsome architect, Ronnie B. Biado, our Secretary General. And another young beauty, Nicole Ann Marie Elchoa, as our Enria National Treasurer. Equitably, the unfaded beauty of Miss Ruth Marie C. Atienza, our auditor for Enria. Then we have another young, promising national trustee and PRO of Enria, Jeffrey S. Bongat. And yours truly, I think the oldest of them all, Rodolfo D. Leonen as Education Chair of NRIA. Then we have Aniceto B. Bisnar Jr. as our National Trustee. Of course, and we have another beautiful lady, Maria Isolde Flores Frado, National Trustee of NRIA. So, Board of Advisors, headed of course by our another beauteous and a beauty queen, Miss Marisa Del Mar, Chair Emerita, Chair Lady, Board of Advisors, past President, and of course, a past Chair Lady of NRIA, and a Hall of Famer awardee of NRIA. Another beautiful architect, Grace S. Layug, as our advisor, past President and past Chair Lady of NRIA. One of our world's renowned architect, and also our past President and past Chairman of NRIA, Architect Felino A. Palafox Jr. An equitably known architect in the Philippines, we have Architect Nestor S. Manio, one of our advisors, past President and past Chairman of NRIA too. And another handsome guy, Mr. Alejandro S. Mañalac as our advisor and also our past President of NRIA. We also have another advisor, Mr. Bansan C. Chowa, CPA. Of course, he was also part of our PRB board and now an advisor of NRIA. We also have one of our board advisor, Mr. Marcelino C. Mendoza, who is also a past NRIA officer and at the same time now a board. Now to introduce to you, of course, our new chapters. For Metro Manila CBD chapter, we have Miss Emily Polido, chapter president. Our Bulacan chapter is headed by a veteran broker and lecturer and professor, Mr. Dennis B. Sumo, as chapter president. We have also our Pampanga chapter headed by Miss Violeta Evaristo, chapter president. We also have our Pangasinan chapter headed by Mr. Romel Agasita as president. And of course, my co-host MC, a beautiful, cool, and freshly from the Pine City of Baguio, Miss Alma Grace L. Sara as chapter president of Baguio City. Another beautiful, again, of Bataan chapter, President Miss Juliet Refuerzo. And we have another gentleman who heads and is the president of Zambales chapter, Mr. Dave Lubo. And another president of our Cavite chapter, one of the promising chapter that can host over 100 participants on CPDs, Miss Sandy Coral. For our Tagaytay Batangas chapter, we have our president, Miss Rosa Maria Rias. And for our Mindoro chapter, we have our president, Attorney Erica Catarbas. For our Ormoc Leyte chapter, we also have a president. And of course, our Cebu chapter headed by Mr. June Golciano. And for our Cagayan chapter, we have also another beautiful lady, of course. And our Davao chapter, we have, of course, our president for Cagayan de Oro, Miss Violeta San. And another beauty of our Davao chapter, our president, Miss Lima Pepino, chapter president. For our Zamboanga chapter, of course, we have Mr. Jeffrey Buluran. And for our South Cotabato Jensen chapter, we have another beauty, Miss Ana May Escalante. So those are our chapter officers. And of course, our very industrious, promising, dedicated, and committed secretariat headed by our gorgeous, beautiful Aurora P. Posong, our executive director. We also have our public relations officer, Mr. Virgilio B. Maclang. Another beauty of our secretariat is, of course, Miss Lalene Santawana, another executive assistant. And of course, one of the most industrious PRC, who goes to PRC for our applications, Miss Eileen P. Garlitos. We also have our handsome Paul T. Santos as our administrative secretary, and at the same time in charge for our recording and accounting for documentation of our financial reports too. And of course, one beautiful lady, Ma Lourdes Angeles, as one of our secretariat staff. And of course, Mr. Bernardo M. Ehada, the one who always would give all papers and documents to our members as well as our officer. So with that, I turn over our introduction, of course, co-host MC.
Thank you, Sir Rod. Thank you so much, Sir Rod. For our self-directed learning, we advise our participants to take note of this. NAREA is offering a new normal rate for new members. Also, for all licensed real estate practitioners who would like to avail of the PRC self-directed learning for CPD units. Type your full name with picture in the comment. Take picture together with the ongoing NAREA National Convention online and send it to NAREA for certificate of attendance with a fee. For your communications, please take note of the details below. Also, for the house rules, please make sure that you mute your microphone so that we have a smooth flow of the convention.
Hello. Hello, I don't have an audio.
We can hear you now, Andy.
Ah, okay. Yeah, good.
Okay, so there might have been some technical problems. Of course, I'd like to introduce, of course, our past president, Mr. Alejandro S. Maniala. He was our past president, chairman, and of course, he is too active in the real estate as an educator and at the same time also in the real estate industry. And let's welcome, of course, Mr. Alejandro Maniala to give us a convention report as well as our maybe recap.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Professor Rod. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, real estate. Okay, to give a recap of what happened yesterday. You see, one of the good things that came up with this virtual event is that they now start on time. Yesterday at exactly 9 a.m., after the acknowledgement of the officers by the beautiful Carol Tan, the convention was formally called to order by Chairman Benigno Cabrieto and followed by the warm opening remarks of Chair Emerita Marisa Del Mar. The audience was given an idea of the exciting topics and the lineup of distinguished speakers that they can look forward to by President May Magtoto. The participants were treated to a very warm welcome speech by our beloved Secretary of DSUD, Honorable Eduardo Del Rosario, who was formally introduced by no less than our board chairman, Ricky Celis. After a brief video presentation of the sponsors, particularly Canty Gems and Forest Lake Memorial Parks, Elias' former vice chairman and longtime friend, Governor Roberto Pagdanganan, introduced Mr. Fermin Santa Teresa, the vice president for home lending of operations of Pag-ibig, who gave a report about the amazing performance of Pag-ibig in 2020. Despite the pandemic, they had increased in funds, takeouts, and even new members. They have also announced their lowest interest rates for their housing loans, which are now more accessible online through their virtual Pag-ibig, and this is also applicable for short-term loans and payments, which can be made online as well. Now, the members can also check if their employers are paying their counterpart contributions by viewing their Pag-ibig savings online. Perfectly timed with the topic are the short video presentations of Bria Homes and EGI Homes. After that, a very interesting video of the highlights of DSUD accomplishments was presented by USEC Marlene Pintor. The Assistant Secretary of the Department, Attorney Avelino Tolentino, gave the highlights of the accomplishments of the department for the past 2 years, especially the support to push the resumption of construction projects while on GCQ, as well as their plans for the real estate industry in the coming years. They also shared their strategy for the next year to expedite the processing of licenses and permits for development. The real exciting item was their vision, which is to have a better, cleaner, smarter human settlements and urban systems in a more inclusive Philippines. As if having a premonition of the pandemic, the OIC of the Securitization Group of the National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, Mr. Romeo Roldan, presented a very timely Balay Verde program giving incentives for green developments, which are practically the design trends in the new normal. But that's not all. In recognizing the challenging situation that the Filipinos have been through, they are also offering housing loans at very low interest rates and even have cashback rewards, and all these conveniently accessible online. I would strongly suggest that you request for a copy of the presentation of this program. To cap off the morning session on a high note, two of the most respected masters of the real estate industry, Sir Banson Choa, ENRIA advisor, and Sir Marcelino Mendoza, also an ENRIA advisor, expertly moderated at the open forum and asked some of the most fitting questions to the guest presenters and speakers, who were also presented with their respective certificates of appreciation afterwards. The afternoon session kicked off with the launching of the ENRIA newsletter. In between the video presentations of the generous sponsors, specifically Kone Elevators and CCEI for the Lakeshore and the NHFMC. All the topics after lunch were more than exciting enough to resist that temptation of dozing off after a heavy lunch. The participants were all ears to the presentation of Director Annalisa Bonagua of the Bureau of Local Government Development under the DILG, as she discussed the new and improved service standards in processing, building, and construction permits by the LGUs. Equally interesting was the presentation of the Board of Investments about the CREATE and other stimulus measures for the national economy and housing, which was masterfully delivered by the BOI Governor Honorable Napoleon E. Concepcion right after the eye-catching videos of Pag-ibig and Davis Paints. A lot of questions about these presentations were sent to the panel and were brought up during the lively open forum with Enria EVP Red Rosales and Enria Vice President for External Affairs, Eduardo Sanchez. This was followed by the awarding of certificates of appreciation to the honorable guests. The very successful first day of the convention was kept lively and on time by the expert masters of ceremony, Ms. Carolina Tan, a very active member, and Mr. Archibald Baluyot of the Enria Pampanga chapter. So with that first day very successful, we can now look forward to an equally or more exciting second day. So sit back, relax, take notes, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Ayala Land, for 30 years and counting, has made every step a step worth taking towards their vision that enhancing land and enriching lives should go hand in hand. And every step taken since was to empower dream makers, lifestyle setters, trailblazers in estates that were game changers. And as the journey continues, let's go hand in hand, moving with every step to enrich lives, to enhance land.
Thank you, Sir Andy Manyalak. For maybe acknowledge that the following people and organizations: the SHDA Chair Lady and President of City Homes Builders and Development Incorporated, SHDA First Vice President Attorney Joy Manaob, OSHDP Past President and now Board Director Attorney Christopher Ryan Tan, participants from the National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, participants from LGU Makati, Mr. Abondio C. Golchano Jr., President of NREA Cebu Chapter, Sandy Corral, President of NREA Cavite Chapter, Mr. Ryan Dadula, NREA Pampanga Chapter, Ms. Joji Quintos, Vice President for Marketing of Davis Paint Philippines Incorporated. Passing through, Sir Rod.
Okay, moving on to the next part of our program. For the presentation first, may I now call on our National Treasurer, Ms. Nicole Anne Marie Elchoa, to properly introduce our first resource speaker and the topic that will be discussed. Take it away.
Thanks, Sir Rod. So our first speaker is a director of the Bureau of Local Government Finance, an attached agency of DOF. She is a computer engineering graduate with a master's degree in management, major in public administration, and PhD in development administration. In 1966, she started her career in the government at the National Tax Research Center, DOF, a focal person and resource person in capacity building activities to BLGF, ROs, LGUs, and other stakeholders on understanding the Bureau's policies on local taxation, revenue administration, and public financial management. One of our speakers' recent engagements includes the development, design, and enhancement of the Electronic Statement of Receipts and Expenditures, in short, ESRE system, which eases the reporting system of the DOF on local government fiscal and financial matters. Without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Ms. Maria Pamela Quizon.
Hi, Nicole.
Oh,
Thank you
hi.
for that generous introduction. And first up, a blessed morning to everyone. And congratulations for the 30th Pearl anniversary of the National Real Estate Association. And thank you for inviting the Bureau of Local Government Finance in this 25th online national convention of ANREA together with the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. I've heard earlier what happened yesterday. It was a jam-packed discussion. It's a good setting up the context for today's discussion, continuing the learning and development for this today's second day session. So let me begin. So it is my distinct privilege to present to you package 3 of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program that the government is pushing in the 18th Congress. Yes, it's part of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program, but let me first set the context that we are not introducing a new tax. We are not increasing any tax rate, but what we are doing is improving the process, the valuation process specifically in the country. We are from the Bureau of Local Government Finance. Together in this seminar, we also have our colleagues from the BLGF. As mentioned by Nicole earlier, we are an attached bureau to the Department of Finance. But before we proceed to the presentation, the outline of our presentation is this. So that's on the second slide. We will be discussing first briefly who we are. We want to introduce ourselves and what our mandates are. Then we will move to the proposed reform real property valuation system by discussing what is wrong. We'll try to answer that. What is wrong with the current system? Why the need for reform? What policy reform is needed? Then we'll go into the benefits of the reform. And the last would be the salient feature of the reform. So who we are. So the BLGF is mandated under EO 127 to perform the following functions. Just to distinguish, I know yesterday that you have a DILG speaker, and that's Director Ana Bonagua, a very good oversight partner of the BLGF. Just to distinguish us from the Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Interior and Local Government, the BLGF takes care of local fiscal policy matters. So all of these things in the mandate that is flashing now on your screen. The bottom line is that we take care of local government revenue administration and fund management. Maybe not so many in the audience right now know that among the local government units official heads, there is one particular unit head in the LGU that is not being appointed the local chief executive, and those are the treasurers. So it's Department of Finance who appoints the 1,700 provincial, city, and municipal treasurers in our country, and we have supervision, technical and administrative supervision over them. So let me go into a discussion of some of the reforms. So before we go to the main valuation reforms, and that will be on the next slide, let me give you some of the reforms that we have been introducing. And these are the latest reforms that we have released, approved, and disseminated to everyone. The first off is a DBM DOF DILG JMC number 01/2020. This is the JMC specifying the revised guidelines on the appropriation, utilization, of the 20% of the annual internal revenue allotment for development projects. So we are now a signatory of this particular JMC. So the LGs shall prepare quarterly reports. So what's our role? We need to prepare the quarterly reports on the utilization, making sure that we have given the proper public service to the people. And how can we do that? By monitoring the utilization of this particular fund. Also, justly, and it's a very good thing that the third speaker today will be our arguing with them, the omnibus guidelines on the suspension of LGU imposition and collection of illegal fees and taxes relative to the transport of goods and products. And just this was done just very recently, just last month. And the last but not the least is the DOH, DBM, DOF, DILG, PhilHealth Joint Memorandum Circular on the guidelines on the utilization, allocation, utilization, and monitoring of and accountability for the Special Health Fund. By looking at all these policies, you now have an idea that our Bureau really looks into the local fiscal policies of the local government units. So flash on your screen right now is the background of our discussion for today. So as a brief background, we all know that land is considered a vital resource for any nation, which according to the World Bank contains 50% to 75% of the country's wealth. It is a major resource and potentially the biggest source of own revenues of LGs. Later on, we'll give you a collection performance when it comes to the own source revenues of the local government units. According to the Peruvian economist Hernando de Soto, which he wrote in 2000 in the book The Mystery of Capital, he mentioned that in our country, in the Philippines, 60% of the country's properties is known as dead capital, amounting to staggering $133 billion in the amount, and the 57% of city dwellers and 67% of rural residents in the Philippines live in housing that is again known as dead capital. So way back in 2000, so matagal na po, way back pa 2000, almost 20 years ago, it was already proposed by the Interagency Coordinating Committee to recommend key structural programs. And what are those key structural programs? First is to remove local government political intervention and influence in the valuation process for the assessment of property taxes. Second, we adopt a single valuation base for taxation purposes, and this reference to other government purposes. And the third one, this is in the original bill, to establish a central appraisal authority. But later on, we will be explaining that we are not establishing again another regulatory body, but we will be strengthening our existing structural bureau. So let's try to answer the questions earlier that we flashed, and that's on the next slide. So what are those questions? So what is wrong with the current system? I hope you give me thumbs up or okay remarks in your chat box if this is correct. Let me give you the first one. First one is multiple overlapping valuations in this country. The rampant disparity arise from where? From maybe overregulation, overlapping policies and jurisdictions resulting to weaker control and inconsistency in valuations. So from our last check, there are more than 20 national government agencies performing valuations on their own, each one using their own system and methodologies, thus resulting in a wide disparity in values. We often say this, there are as many values as there are valuers. So even my neighbor has their own opinion of my property here in our residence. The second one, I don't know if you agree also with this. The second one is property valuations used for government purposes, especially for taxation, are severely outdated. Or I might say generally severely outdated. And LGUs usually, I hope we have LGUs participants. I've heard one, Makati, normally commingle valuation with that of taxation, one being highly technical and the other being political. And revenue performance of real property tax is getting weaker. It's not weak when it comes to nominal amount, but it's getting weaker when you assess it and compared it to a percentage of our GDP. So later on, we will be showing you the numbers of this performance of the real property tax. The third one that we have documented is that outdated valuations results in costs and foregone revenues due to overvaluation. So we often hear this one, overvaluation when government pays. But if we want to pay taxes, ayaw natin na mataas na base. So undervaluation when government collects taxes. The fourth one is there is no single agency. I've mentioned earlier that there are 20 plus national government agencies doing valuation on their own. So there's no single agencies responsible for monitoring the evaluations and revaluations or in compliance. Are we really doing the right valuation methodology in the country? And fifth, as we can compare with our neighboring countries, very easy with Google. You just type in the address in other countries, property there, and you will have some result. But in the Philippines, we do not have the comprehensive real property electronic database to capture transactions and support regular property revaluation. There is no system in the BRR. There is no system in the LGUs. There is no system for the LRA. So different systems, we do not have an integrated database, and that we hope that we can address in this reform. So what are the things that we are not capturing? And that is on the next slide. These are the numbers that maybe you want to take a second look because these are the numbers that we are not capturing. Although, let me have a disclaimer at this slide. Yes, we have a different situation during pandemic, but what we're flashing are before pandemic. So we're really hoping and we know we will be recovering in due time. So let me give you a picture of these numbers. Very glaring is the low tax intake, which undermines revenue generation. Look at the figure of collection efficiency. If you total all the collection efficiency on real property tax, it's only about 71%. What does it mean? In simple layman's term, that means every year 30% LGUs are not collecting real property taxes. If you want to segregate cities with that of the provinces and municipalities, cities is mas maganda ang figure, 73% collection efficiency. Provinces and municipalities much lower at 68%. So opportunities for the LGUs to capture, we're not capturing expansion in renting and business activities, which has been growing lately. GDP also being pushed by real estate, renting, and business activities. If you look at the numbers on the boxes, you will find real property tax to local sources of the LGUs combined together is only 28%. RPT to GDP is only 0.35%, not even reaching 0.5% or even 1%. And then the NG property related taxes, which means these are the collections coming from the BIR, we only have 0.26%. So let's look at the graph on the next slide. And this is a historical picture of our real property tax to GDP ratio. If you look at the line separating the two periods, so this is the line in the middle is the implementation of the local government code. You know that this is a landmark law that was passed where we have decentralized the taxing powers as well as the expenditure responsibilities to the LGU. So let's look at the picture before LGC and after LGC. So before LGC, you will see that somewhat it's stable, the real property tax to GDP ratio. When we have passed the local government code in 1992, what happened? We have a boost in the collection. We have been seeing a good picture and performance of the real property tax. But what happened in 2004 and 2005? That is the red circle on the graph. When this is the time that we are now seeing local government units somewhat neglecting the regular revaluation in our country. So what happened? The RPT to GDP has been declining since fiscal year 2004 to 2005. Aside from the failure of LGUs to update SMVs, there are years and other factors which are also attributes to the decrease. So let's go to the second picture. And this is the RPT and GVA share to GDP. So the gross value added of the real estate is being shown here. So it has been increasing. It's really good picture for us. Until 2019, that's a good picture. But 2020, yes, we are now seeing decline. 2021, yes, we somehow have a bad picture when it comes to GDP. But these are the previous performance of the gross value added when it comes to real estate and dwelling. So we have a very good picture of the GVA share to gross value added. What about in other countries? Let's compare the Philippines to other countries. So let's look at the other countries. If we compare our country with that of the other countries, yes, we only have 4 here. The average RPT to GDP ratio of the Philippines is much lower than that of our neighboring country. Japan is recording 2.1%, Korea with 0.7%, and Malaysia, and the average is about 0.5%. But look at the Philippines, constantly at 0.4%. So this is the performance of the country when we compare it with our neighboring country. On the next slide, you will see a good story behind this graph. So this graph now tells us the real property tax performance vis-a-vis that of the business tax performance. And these are the collections from the LGU level. What are the picture we're seeing? Again, the red vertical lines speaks of the implementation of the local government code. So let's look at the before and the after performance. The before performance, what are we seeing? The green lines showing real property tax is really the lifeblood of the local government units. Talagang pinanindigan niya, ito yung lifeblood eh. Dito tayo nakaka-collect. It's the source of revenues of the local government units. Business tax not so much before the local government code. But after the local government code, we are now seeing a different picture. There has been a reversal of the trend. Now it's business tax really performing very, very well for the last 10 to 12 years. So what are the reasons? One of the possible reasons for this decline can be attributed to maybe ineffective policy implementation and tax administration at the local level. Maybe we also have a low tax rate. Maybe we also have a broad exemptions. Infrequent adjustments and undervaluation are just among the issues that hopefully package 3 would like to address. So these are the performance that we are seeing right now, and this performance will be continuing. We've seen the 2019 collection, we've seen the preliminary for 2020, still business taxes surpassing real property tax. So on the next slide, you will see that only 45% of LGUs have updated schedule of market values. This number has been called since March 2019. I know that there will be improvement when we when the time comes that we will be updating this number, but not really so much. So 45% of LGUs have updated SMV. So the reversal is that 98 are not compliant when it comes to cities, and 46 provinces are also have they also have outdated schedule of market values during the period that we did the survey in March 2019. So that's the picture of the LGs. How about the BIR when it comes to zonal values? So 60% of the revenue district offices of the BIR has now an updated zonal values within the last 3 years. So 72 out of the 120 RDOs are updated. Much good picture. Especially now, mas maganda po ang picture ng BIR. Why? Because when the train law was passed, the package 1, they are now mandated, strictly mandated to revise every 3 years the schedule of zonal values. So on the next slide, you will see what are the possible tax bases. I know that most of you already know this. Possible tax bases for a single transaction. So what we have is, first is the capital gains tax. So when we talk about it, if we're paying the capital gains tax right now, what are the tax bases that we have to consider? First is the actual selling price. Second will be the zonal value and the assessed value, the third one. And highest among the three, then that will be the base of your capital gains tax. Also, with the documentary stamp tax, we also have the same basis: actual selling price, the zonal values, and the assessed value from the LGUs. How about estate and donors taxes? By the way, they are trying to right now, the Senate is deliberating that there will be an extension for the amnesty. So that's a segue to this discussion. How about estate and donors tax? So they look at the two tax bases, whichever is higher, zonal and the assessed value. And in real property tax, we only have one tax base, and that is on assessed value. The next slide is a favorite of our secretary. It shows you the huge disparities of valuations in urban areas. And we pick three. One is in Ayala Avenue, and I know that Makati City LGUs are here right now, so they can correct me if we have a wrong information being flashed on the screen right now. The schedule of market value in city of Makati was way back in 1994, 1996. So in Ayala Avenue, recorded schedule of market value is 40,000 per square meter. But if you look at the zonal value of coming from the data from the BIR, it's 439,000. This was updated in 2017. I know that BIR will be updating this one, or if they have already updated. But if you ask the private valuers, that property, same property in Ayala Avenue, will get you as high as 700,000. One participant of ours mentioned that in the chat box. That's not true. It's already 1 million. Let's go into, yes, thank you for that. So we have a wrong information here. We'll try to adjust it, sir. At Legazpi Village, Makati City, still the schedule of market values way back in 1994, 1996, it's 29,000 per square meter. Compare it with the BIR data that we have, it's 320,000 per square meter. But if you're going to ask a private valuers, it's 390,000 per square meter. Again, we might be wrong now. In E. Rodriguez Avenue in Quezon City, we picked this up. It's 35,000 per square meter for the LGU records, as per LGU record. As BIR record, it's about 100,000 per square meter. But if you ask the private valuers, it's 130,000 per square meter. The next slide will show you some of the LGUs with the top 5 lowest schedule of market value per square meter on land. What we did is just gathered information when it comes to land. So look at this. If you go into Benguet Car, you'll find a residential land property with 3 pesos per square meter of recorded in their SMV, and Osami's 5 pesos, 15 pesos for Camiguin, also in San Carlos, and Zamboanga, Sibugay at 17 pesos. How about agricultural land? Agricultural land, you'll find 0.04 centavos in Lanao del Sur, and almost less than a peso for the yung lowest SMV that we have gathered. Industrial, the lowest that we have is 20 pesos per square meter, and that can be found where? At Puerto Princesa City. How about commercial properties? We are seeing that there's an 18 pesos per square meter of land of commercial property at Lanao del Norte. So this is the picture that we have. We will be updating this one because we did another survey in 2020, and we'll give you new numbers on your next conference. So what are the effects of outdated values? And we have the 5 effects of outdated values on your screen right now. First is, the very obvious one is the unrealized revenues and socioeconomic benefits from delayed projects. So if we're not collecting, we're not giving back these collections to the people through projects, through public services. Conflicting land values results in right-of-way compensation problems. This is also a problem that we are seeing as an effect of the outdated values that we have. Lengthy court litigations arising from valuation disputes. So sabi nila, kapag mayroon kang kaso pagdating sa property, sa lupa, nagkaapo ka na, hindi pa tapos ang kaso natin. Projects are delays and there are cost overruns. So what the next slide will show you, why are values for government purposes outdated? So we have listed here 3. If you can still think of other ones, then we're open to that. First is because there's no sanction for non-compliance in the regular updating of the LGU schedule of fair market values and BIR zonal values. Although right now, sabi ko nga po sa inyo, when train law was passed, yung BIR po mandated na every 3 years to revise their zonal values. But when it comes to LGUs, no sanction at all for non-compliance, even if it's a local government coast telling them every 3 years you can do revaluation. The second one, and 2022 is coming next year. It's just around the corner. So LGUs failed to update and revise the SMVS basis for real property taxation despite a statutory requirement. Why? It's unpopular. They have a fear of political backlash. Hindi po ba? It's political suicide. Every 3 years, then you're going to impose revaluation. Ang mentality pa naman po ng taxpayers ngayon, nag-update si LGU, tataas na naman po ang amilyar ko. Later on, we'll also going to explain that. Some LGUs are telling us they don't have the technical capacity to do revaluation. And of course, ito po, ramdam din namin to, budget din po sa LGU. Sometimes, yung cost ng revaluation, malaki din po yan dahil iikutan nila yung buong LGUs nila. So they need budget for that. So some LGUs are telling us, there's no budget for that. So we'll rather not do revaluation. The third one is there is absence of effective national network for exchange of data on property sales and database to support valuation work. And this is hopefully what we're going to address with the reform package that we would like to introduce. So the next slide, so what policy reforms are needed? So we have 5 points in here. First is let's adopt international standards. Kailangan po may pagsasanggaan ng valuation process natin. And we have international standards already. Accountants have international standards. So accounting, they already follow international standards. So in valuation, we also wants to set the standard and hopefully we can adopt the internationally accepted standards when it comes to valuation. When we say to rationalize the process, it means we take out the function of technical function of the LGUs and give it to the technical people. And the political function will still remain with the LGU. Again, we are not reinventing anything. We're not taking away political power from the local government unit, but the technical function only. Establish single valuation base for taxation and benchmarking for other purposes. Now, single valuation base does not mean single value of tax, meaning when it comes to taxation, this will be the base na babayaran nyo. Yung kanina pinakita ko, tatlong base. So, sana po, single valuation base for taxation. Insulate valuation from undue politicization. LGUs should continue to regulate tax rates and assessment levels. Again, we're not taking that power away from the Sanggunian and from the local chief executive. Support LGUs in fulfilling their functions while improving the oversight function of the national government, and establish, again, you've been seeing this in almost all of our slides, establish comprehensive database to support valuation function. So what is the thing that I'm telling you that we separate technical function with that of the political function, and that is on the next slide. You can see in this next slide a representation. Technical function is purely valuation. Political function is setting the assessment level, setting the tax rate, for LGUs also to set the budget. If you will remember, Secretary Robredo, who used to be the mayor of Naga, 20 years hindi po nag-revise ang Naga. Then the BLGF helped them revise at that time. Ang sabi niya during it's also a political decision on his part, for after 20 years ay magre-revise siya ng schedule of market value. Ang sabi niya during the public hearing, and that is focusing into the budget of the LGU, sabi niya sa public, whatever increment, whatever collections that we're going to get from this reform will go and earmark to a particular sector, and that is education. That is where he won the hearts of the public at tinanggap po talaga yung revision. Bakit din tinanggap? Ang alam ng tao, ito po yung misconception ng mga tao, yung box who here at the slide, that there is an increase in real property tax because it's value driven, and there will be an automatic increase in real property tax due kapag nag-increase at nag-update ang schedule of market value. It's a misconception because the LCE can always lower down assessment level and tax rate to cushion the increase on real property tax. So the benefits of the reform, we have listed here 8, to have a single valuation base, a uniform standard in the valuation process, a comprehensive database, and we are been telling this, it's not a direct impact of the reform, but incidentally, there will be increase in revenues if we will be pag inayos natin po ang reform na ito, it will improve local autonomy because they will not be dependent anymore from central transfers, higher investor confidence because values of properties will now be transparent. The 7th one is a favorite of the Department of Education, of course. It's a guaranteed benefit of the education sector because we all know that every time we pay the real property tax, piggyback on that is the special education fund and the reduced government costs. Let me give you the listed in here. Before this one, can we have the next one? Next slide. That isa pa po. Yan. The salient features of the reform, the uses of the SMV assessor shall still prepare. So mamaya po may questions. In 30 minutes, we cannot discuss all the salient of the reforms, but it's still the assessor from the provinces and cities and municipalities who will be preparing the schedule of market value. There will be regular updating of the schedule of market value. LGUs will still set the assessment levels and tax rates. Publication, every time that the approved schedule of market values will be approved by the Secretary of Finance, then it will be published. The development of real property information system, sabi kanina ng mga LGUs, wala kaming budget sa pag-update. In the reform, we already indicated some budgetary requirements that will really earmark the costs for revaluation. We also tackled in the reform the appointment and qualifications of the assessors. We are not creating a new agency. Sabi ko po kanina, although 3 Congresses ago, yan po yung intention. Now it's not. We're going to strengthen the Bureau of Local Government Finance. We are also creating consultative committee because we want to hear the public. We want to hear the major stakeholders. We want to hear Andrea during deliberation. So we will be creating a central and regional consultative committee, the LBAA, or the Local Board of Assessment Appeals, where taxpayers can run through if they have questions and problems on assessment, will be now mandatory. And now we will have penal provisions. So to recap my presentation, one slide back, please. Thank you so much. Our vision for the property valuation are the following: harmony, consistency, efficiency, and equity. And of course, we want to improve governance, making sure that it's transparent and the trust of the people. From the Bureau of Local Government Finance po, Pam Quezon here. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Ma'am Pam. May we call back Ms. Choa to present the second speaker. Ms. Nicole Choa.
There might be a technical problem. Miss Sarah, can you introduce?
Yeah. Okay, for our next speaker, he is the Deputy Director of Commitments and Policy Group, Anti-Money Laundering Council Secretariat. His speakership biography, he is the head of the Commitments and Policy Group of the AMLACs. His group spearheaded the preparations and coordination of the first and second AMLAC National Risk Assessment, technical compliance, and effectiveness response to the Philippines. On third round, the AMLAC mutual evaluation and national strategy. As a former financial crimes investigator, he has conducted complex financial investigation involving Ponzi scheme, corruption cases, and the Bangladesh bank heist. Prior to joining the AMLAC, Mr. Bermedo was an AMLAC CFT supervisor, examiner of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, where he conducted the examination as well as trainings for to senior management and staff of Universal Commercial as well as foreign banks. Mr. Bermedo is also a regular AML CFT trainer of MSBs and has likewise provided financial investigation training to various law enforcement and intelligence officers. He participated as one of the AMLAC financial expert assessors of the Asia Pacific Group on money laundering in the ME process of Macau, China in 2016, and received commendation from the APJ for his contributions. Mr. Bermedo is the 2016 BSP Gawad Gantimpala Awardees for his extraordinary display of patriotism and is an alumnus of the International Law Enforcement Academy. He is a certified anti-money laundering specialist. May we all welcome Mr. Albin L. Bermedo, our Deputy Director for Commitments and Policy Group.
good morning. Our apologies, but Deputy Director Alvin Bermedo is currently have unable to unmute himself. Hi, Miss Lane. Hi, Miss Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir Alvin tried to access using his phone, but it says the host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves.
Sir Paul, may we ask for assistance?
Hello, hello, KJ. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Thank you, sir.
So can I start? I'm using my phone. Actually, sorry for the glitches, but I can start the presentation.
Saturday.
KJ.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We're
can I
hearing you
start
now,
now?
sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear you.
loud and clear.
Loud and
sir.
clear. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
we shall start. Actually, I have a technical glitches because my laptop just cannot unmute, so I transferred or shifted to my iPhone. So I think we shall start.
Thank you, sir.
August, September, October, November, December.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, distinguished officers and executive officers and senior management of NREA.
Good morning, sir.
So it is a pleasure to share the developments in our country's anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing, specifically RA 11529, which now includes real estate brokers and developers under the regulatory ambit of the AMLAC. My quick topics for discussion are the following. So Republic Act 11521, which amended the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001, phases of supervision, risk-based supervision and obligation of covered person, and Q&A. So the AMLA amendments under RA 11521. We will start by discussing quickly the recent AMLA amendments. As you can see in this illustration, the AMLA is one of the most amended laws in the country. It has undergone 5 amendments since the law was passed in 2001. This reflects the dynamic nature of AML-CFT compliance of being relevant to the times and by being responsive to the ever-changing global situation on money laundering and terrorism financing activities. Effective on January 30, 2021, the passage of RA 11521, which amended the AMLA, is vital to address the technical compliance deficiencies identified in the country's mutual evaluation report. Salient provisions of RA 11521 are as follows. So these are considered must-have as recommended by the Financial Action Task Force. Number 1 is the inclusion of real estate brokers, real estate developers, and offshore gaming operators, as well as their service providers as a covered persons under the AMLA. Second is the inclusion of Section 254 on the attempt to evade or defeat tax of the National Internal Revenue Code, which is the tax evasion provision in law, as a predicate crime to money laundering, where the basic tax due in the final assessment is in excess of 25 million. The third one, of violation of the Section 19A3 of the Strategic Trade Management Act in relation to proliferation financing pursuant to United Nations Security Council Resolution 1718, and 2231 as a predicate crime to money laundering. And fourth is the expansion of the investigative powers of the AMLA to include investigative techniques available to other law enforcement agencies. Number 5 is authority of the AMLA to implement targeted financial sanctions in relation to proliferation financing under UNSCR 1718 and 2231 and successor resolutions. Authority of the AMLA to preserve, manage, or dispose assets pursuant to a freeze order, asset preservation order, or judgment of forfeiture, prohibition on the issuance of injunction against the freeze order and asset preservation order issued under the AMLA, and finally, provision on information security and confidentiality. Suffice to say, the inclusion of real estate brokers and developers was a challenge prior to the passage of this amendment, just like the coverage of banks and other financial institutions back in 2000 on the first passage of the AMLA law. Next slide, please. Since the primary supervisor of designated non-financial business and professions, excluding casinos, would be the AMLC, in effect, the industry now will be supervised by the AMLC in terms of AML CFT compliance. To those not familiar, the NFBPs would include the lawyers, accountants, dealers of precious stones, dealers of precious metals, and of the real estate brokers developers. While generally a casino is considered as a DNFBP, we normally exclude them during such discussions since their primary regulator would be the PAGCOR. They were covered in 2017 by virtue of Republic Act 10927, which includes casinos as a covered person under the AMLA. So now we will discuss the supervision cycle. As you can see the illustration, there are 4 general phases towards the supervision of the NFBPs, namely environmental scanning for AML-CFT coverage and issuance of AML-CTF regulations, risk assessments, risk-based supervision of covered person, enforcement actions, and filing of cases. We have conducted an environmental scanning way before we even proposed this amendment to the AMLA. Now that we have the law, the first phase is considered done, which would now lead us to the next phase, which is risk assessment. For the risk assessment of the real estate sector, we have completed a study and will be subject for approval of the Council very soon. The same will be made publicly available for better appreciation of the public on how the real sector is largely involved in MLTF activities. Upon approval of this study, we now go to the risk-based supervision of the industry, meaning to say, there will be on-site and off-site compliance checking that will be performed by the Compliance and Supervision Group of the AMLC. Since we are under the risk-based regime, we will be using a risk rating framework to reflect different components to which a covered person will be assessed. A quick discussion on that will be made shortly. Finally, the last phase on the cycle before it starts again would be the imposition of enforcement of actions and filing of cases. We do have rules of procedure in administrative cases and enforcement guidelines in addition to the possible criminal, civil, and administrative cases that can be filed against erring entities, personalities. We normally discuss the full details of the sanctions in our full-length training session. Suffice to say, most participants are even surprised on the full extent of sanctions, but the AMLC is ready to have a training sessions specific to the sanctions. Slide 10, as mentioned, I will show the factors to consider in the risk rating system under the risk-based supervision regime and the corresponding obligations of the covered person. A covered person is assigned a numerical and adjectival composite rating based on 4 components. They are the board and senior management oversight, money laundering terrorist financing prevention program, internal control and audit, and implementation. If we may note on the report of compliance that we received from the AMLC, it provided a composite rating which was a result of the evaluation of the following components. For appreciation, we will discuss them briefly on how certain violations affect the rating received by the entity. On board and senior management oversight is assessed through ability of the compliance office to manage the MTPP or the Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Prevention Program. the independence, adequate resources and direct reporting, implementation issues, and previous supervisory directives. The second one is the risk management practices, consistent and effective. Risk profiling, updating, and alert management. For the management information system, it should be reliable, timely, complete, and helpful. And self-assessment system, independent, accurate, and helpful internal audit and compliance testing. The MTPP, or the Money Laundering Terrorism Financing Prevention Program, is assessed through coverage, consistent with the implementing rules and regulation, in writing and approved by the BOD, corresponds to the entity structure, risk profile, and complexity. Risk management policies that includes risk profiling, updating and alert management, extent of dissemination of MTPP, and level of awareness. That includes training and dynamic dissemination methods. For component of internal control and audit, it is assessed through internal control, adequacy and soundness of controls to identify, monitor, manage, and control MLTF risk, independence and support with adequate resources, direct reporting line, and assured employment. Coverage. Audit coverage includes all required area under the MTPP and existing rules and regulation, and timeliness of communication, which includes all reports must be timely communicated to the BOD and provided as well to relevant users for timely resolution of issues. And last but more importantly is the implementation aspect. In most cases, this is the area where most COVID persons falter. It is assessed through the mnemonics ROCSTR, or the ROCSTAR, or risk-based acceptance and identification, which include minimum information, identification documents, face-to-face, and risk profiling. Ongoing monitoring of transaction activities, electronic monitoring system, alerts management, updating, suspicious transaction identification, covert transaction reporting system, completeness. So information plus capturing all covert transactions, accuracy and timeliness, suspicious transaction reporting system, record the continuous education and training program, and record keeping and retention system. Overall, all issues of COVID persons are slotted in all these components and subcomponents to arrive at the risk rating. Suffice to say, it would take a consolidated effort across all units to raise the rating of the entity. The improvement of the rating cannot be left alone with the compliance officer and or the business units. It takes a consolidated approach from top to bottom to get a passing mark based on the rating system. But to keep things simple, the three main obligations of the covered person are, number one, the conduct of customer due diligence. That includes customer identification, transaction reporting, that includes covert and suspicious transaction reports, and record keeping. First is customer due diligence, more commonly known as KYC, but there is more to CDD than calling it KYC. The detailed processes under the CDD include customer due diligence measures. That is, letter A, customer identification process, customer verification process, identification and verification of agents, beneficial ownership verification, determination of the purpose of relationship, ongoing monitoring process. Next will be transaction reporting, specifically covered transaction reporting and suspicious transaction reporting. For CTRs, just remember the magic number 7.5 million in cash. For the real estate industry, the covered transaction threshold is above 7.5 million cold cash transactions. So it is in excess of 7.5 million cold cash. Just to clarify, this is not the usual definition of cash that you are accustomed to. This is cold cash, physical cash transaction. So if the payment is through check or fund transfer, it would not be a covered transaction. For the suspicious transaction report, please note the following suspicious transaction indicators. So these are the 7 parameters. So these parameters, please note that in STR reporting, it is below threshold. So regardless of the amount. So even if it is 7.2 or 7.1, but it falls under the 7 parameters, for example, customer not properly identified, the covered person are required to report suspicious transaction report. Now, for the third obligation, and probably the easiest way to comply with is the record keeping requirement. The number to remember is 5. To maintain and safely store for 5 years from the dates of transaction all customer records and transaction documents. To keep all records obtained through CDD, account files, and business correspondence, and the results of any analysis undertaken for at least 5 years following the closure of account, termination of the business or professional relationship, or after the date of the occasional transaction. And if a case has been filed in court involving the account, to retain and safely keep beyond the 5-year period until it is officially confirmed by the AMLC that the case has been resolved, decided, or terminated with finality. Please take note, failure to keep record is a criminal offense, so you better keep all your records intact. So for the question and answer, so these are some of the questions presented to us. We thank the question number 1. So we thank the AMLC for allowing registration by real estate developers and brokers beyond 16 March 2021. Is there a definite deadline date for registration? As of now, no final deadline set, but it will be very soon since we have provided substantial time for the real estate developers and brokers to register with the AMLAC. Also, we are set to release po the DNFBP guidelines for approval siya, and then ipopost din namin siya, ipapublish din po namin siya. So for now, wala pa pong final deadline po. But we encourage everyone, for the developers and brokers, to register na po. 24/7 po ang registration natin sa AMLAC via online portal. Second is, how many real estate developers and brokers have registered so far? So as of May 14, 2021, the number is around 2,559 registered real estate brokers and developers. So for question number 3, what is the status of reporting of suspicious transactions so far made by real estate developers and brokers who have registered with the AMLAC? Unfortunately, we cannot disclose that due to the confidential nature of CTR STRs. But suffice to say, the numbers are not yet high, considering that the inclusion of the sector as COVID persons are fairly recent. And the same question, what is the status of reporting of suspicious transactions so far made by real estate developers and brokers who have registered with the AMLAC? Unfortunately, we cannot disclose also that due to the confidential nature of the CTR STR, it's under the law, the confidentiality, and even the fact of reporting. But suffice to say, the numbers are not yet high, considering that the inclusion of the sector as covered persons are fairly recent. So, thank you po, and good day.
Bago ako magmahal ng iba, mamahalin ko muna ang sarili ko. Mag-iipon muna ako ng Pag-ibig. Pag-ibig Regular Savings. Earn 25 times more sa contributions mo. Ang contributions mo, ipon mo. Mas malaking contribution, mas malaking ipon. I'm worth it. I deserve Pag-ibig.
AJ? AJ?
Minsan ang pag-ibig, online mo pala mahahanap. Ang bagong virtual Pag-ibig. One click, you can track your savings. Easily pay for your loans. Even live chat with us. And now, apply for a short-term loan.
Sign up for the virtual Pag-ibig account today.
Okay, so moving on to our third presentation, may I again call our National Treasurer, Ms. Nicole Ann Marie Chowa, to properly introduce our next resource speaker, including the topic that will be presented. Take it away, Nicole.
Thank you, Rod. Due to a personal emergency, Anti-Red Tape Authority Director General Jeremiah B. Belhica will not be able to make his presentation at our event. Nonetheless, he will be represented today by our very own attorney Marco Angelo Balicer, an executive assistant of DG Belhica.
Hi, good morning to everyone. Can you hear me po?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. To the National Real Estate Association, board trustees and officers, headed by Mr. Benigno T. Cabrera Jr., to the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, DSUD, headed by Secretary Eduardo D. Del Rosario, to the previous presenters, Director Pam Quizon from the DLGF-DOF, to Deputy Director Bermido from AMLAC. Good morning po, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Good morning po. Again po, regretfully, DG has to attend to an emergency, and he extends his apologies po. Nonetheless, we're here po to present the updates on the ease of doing business. So next slide, please. Red tape has always been a source of inefficiency in government, impairing the quality of service delivery. They act as impediments to progress and development. Giving a band-aid solution to these problems is not a solution at all. What we truly need is to address and eliminate the underlying cause of the problem. That is why we must review, reassess, and reevaluate our processes in order to address the issue and prevent it from becoming worse. The Anti-Red Tape Authority, or ARTA, is young and small agency in terms of size, but we have big commitment to help address the problems of our country, most notably eliminating red tape and bureaucracy. We stand in unison with the directives of our dear President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to alleviate the burdens of our countrymen. We share his dedication to serving Filipinos. Next slide, please. Housing is important to families. While it satisfies a fundamental human need for shelter, it also contributes to the health and well-being of both parents and children, especially now that we are in this pandemic. Children who live in a stable housing perform better in school and are less likely to have their education disrupted by unwanted moves. The Philippine government has long sought to provide decent and affordable housing as stated in the 1987 Constitution as part of its commitment to the achievement of safe, resilient, and sustainable human settlements, one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022 reiterates the housing goal to eliminate shortage and expand as the demand for living space continues to grow. At the moment, the country's housing needs is estimated to be 6 million units, but that figure is expected to rise to 12.5 million by 2030. Next slide, please. In Article 13, Section 19 of the Philippine Constitution, it is stipulated that the state shall undertake a continuing program of urban land reform and housing, which will make available at affordable cost decent housing and basic services to underprivileged and homeless citizens in urban and resettlement areas. Next slide, please. And based on the study of the Development Academy of the Philippines, one of our partners, REDAP, the Socialized Housing Construction, or SHS, is one of the top 5 red tape ridden industries in the Philippines, and was therefore included in ARTA's Project Nehemiah, or the national effort for the harmonization of efficiency measures in interrelated agencies. So this the housing sector is part of the 5 sectors of the Nehemiah program, phase 1. The problem, as identified in the DAP study, has been the usual processing time, redundant requirements, and over-regulations. So it involves 27 offices, 78 permits, 146 signatures, and 373 documents. In response to the initiative of ARTA, a series of coordination meetings began in October 2020 online with the active participation of the SHUD, as well as other major agencies, such as the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and the Department of Agrarian Reform. Next slide, please. Following several meetings, the main issue was narrowed down to 5. First, for the land acquisition and land conversion, we need to address the delay in transferring mother title into subdivision lot titles. Second, in a more in-depth discussion, it was revealed that most cities and municipalities already have comprehensive land use policies in place, or CLUP. However, some of them requires updating. These CLUPs were developed through the collaborative effort of concerned national government agencies, or NGAs, and local government units, including the Department of Agrarian Reform. Another issue to be addressed is capital funding. The Pag-ibig and other government financing institutions were invited to the most recent meeting held on March 4, 2021, and expressed their full support for the developers' plight. The issue on construction and permits have been consolidated with the construction industry to prevent duplicity. And lastly, on the other hand, the issue of registration of business has been addressed at the outset of the Nehemiah program. Next slide, please. In order to address the aforementioned problem, we have come up with the following initial recommended output. The housing sector. First, the housing sector is expected to issue a JMC, or Joint Memorandum Circular, outlining the streamlined procedure for their sector at the end of the 52-week streamlining exercise. However, if the agencies involved in the sector determine that an executive order or administrative order is necessary for the streamlined procedure, the same shall be recommended to the Office of the President. We also recommend the development of a shared information system for national agencies involved in the issuance of permits for housing development projects, and that it be linked to the LGU database. The LGU database that we're referring to may pertain to the Philippine Business Data Bank, or the e-books. This will significantly reduce the time and cost of securing the necessary permits. Instead of requiring applicants to submit the same set of documents, agencies and LGUs will simply access online electronic copies. And third is setting up of a one-stop shop for processing applications for housing projects, which will also improve efficacy. To complement this, all application forms should be made available online. If possible, corresponding payments should also be made through e-banking, or online payments should also be available. It has been agreed upon that the development in the housing sector may be streamlined into 3 phases. First is acquisition, second is construction, and third is disposition. Next slide, please. To address the first phase, a proposed JMC to deal on land acquisition has been circulated to the member agencies for their comments last December 2020, and after which the finalization of JMC can be actualized. The proposed JMC is embodied by the summarized highlights below. So the coverage pertains to land acquisition, letter A. Letter B, the inventory consolidation and delineation shall cause the parties to the JMC the inventory of lands within their jurisdiction and thereafter share the respective nationwide database on land, plot, consolidate, and delineate them. The parties shall also submit the same to NAMRIA, who will map out all data and indicate overlapping claims and inconsistencies. C, conversion. The Department of Agrarian Reform shall declare and convert all lands covered by CLUPs as they may be classified by the respective local government units. Letter D, comprehensive land use plan, or the CLUP and citizens charter compliance. All cities and municipalities without CLUPs or with CLUPs that are more than 4 years old shall coordinate with the respective offices of the national government to help identify and establish their CLUPs or updated CLUPs and the availment thereof, together with the processing time and responsible officer or personnel, cost, if any, and all other requirements and processes shall be contained in their respective citizens' charter or updated citizens' charter. We at ARTA believe that every Filipino family has a right to live with dignity in the comfort of one's own home, regardless of economic status. We would like to remind everyone that the train of reform is now on the move, and as our Director General, Secretary Jeremiah Balica would always say, on it are the hopes of the people. We implore you, we implore everyone, let us work together for smarter initiatives and a better Philippines. Thank you, and mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you so much, Attorney Marco Angelo Ballester. In behalf of Attorney Jeremiah Bibelhica, our Director General of Anti-Red Tape Authority. Okay, so maybe call back Ms. Choa for the presentation of our fourth speaker. Ms. Choa.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Choa for our fourth speaker. Thank you.
Okay, so our fourth speaker is Miss Honorable Pilar Miranda Torres Banaag. She is an independent real estate practitioner since 1997, the president of Silor Realty and Consultancy, and then she is also an independent CPA practitioner since September 1985. She is also a reviewer in real estate for real estate brokers, real estate appraisers, and consultants. Either from this, of course, as we all know, she is one of the current, she sits as one of the current PRB res. And also, she is an instructor teaching taxation, accounting, auditing, a former accredited mediator of the Supreme Court, and engaged in various professional services as an accountant, real estate consultant, real estate appraiser, real estate broker, and environment planner. A member of the Science Technical Working Group, I'd like to introduce our fourth speaker, Honorable Pilar Miranda Torres Banaag.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Nicole, to our distinguished speakers, to the board of NRIA headed by Sir Benny, to the officers of NRIA headed by Ma'am Amy Magtuto, to the officers and members of NRIA. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am tasked to present today the PRC and the PRBRS policies, programs, CPD rules, and other updates.
Ma'am Pilar, you are muted.
So to start with, the following are my topic presentation. I will be discussing PRBRS Resolution number 8, series of 2020, and then RESO 30, series of 2020, Resolution number 1, series of 2021, PRBRS memo dated January 4, 2021 and March 5 of 2021, PRC RESO, Resolution number 11, a series of 2021, as well as Resolution 1332, and then PRC Memorandum dated April 14, 2021, and the latest issuance of PRBRS, which is covered in Resolution number 26, series of 2021. In the next slides, I would like to start with Resolution number 8, series of 2020. And this resolution pertains to the operational guidelines on continuing professional development, specifically for real estate profession, and that is during the transitory period. What do you mean by transitory period? You know that we have also a corresponding law, which is another law vis-a-vis on the implementation of RA 10912, which is the CPD law. Together with that, we are also mandated at the PRC to implement RA 10968, and this is the Philippine Qualification Framework. So therefore, there were several changes on the implementation or the implementing rules of RA 10912, and that is an amendments on the implementing rules, Resolution 1032 issued by PRC. And the transitory period that has been referred to here is prior to the full implementation of RA 10968, of which consideration to relax certain provisions of the Resolution 1032 was made. I'd like to discuss the salient feature of Resolution 8, series of 2020. This is practically providing the aspect that all real estate professional, meaning real estate appraiser, real estate consultant, and real estate brokers who are working abroad shall not be covered by the CPD requirements, meaning they are exempted to comply the CPD requirement based on the existing guidelines. Likewise, those newly licensed real estate professional shall not be covered, and again, as I have referred to the real estate professionals, brokers, appraisers, consultants who just recently passed the licensure examination shall not be covered the CPD requirement for the first renewal cycle after obtaining the license. Meaning, for the first time that you renew your license being a new real estate professionals, you are not covered to comply the CPD requirements. Further, based on PRC resolutions on the implementation of the so-called CPD law, all real estate professionals were required to comply 45 CPD credits. However, because of this particular resolution, number 8, that the board had issued, there were reductions of the required CPD units from 45 to 15 credit units per license if you are 59 years old and below. And likewise, from 45 per license to 5 credit units per license if you are already a senior citizen and above. And for the salesperson, instead of getting 10 CPD credit units for the renewal of the accreditation, it was already reduced to 5 credit units. Further, in this resolution or guidelines, there were considerations on a carryover of an excess of the CPD units. Meaning, if you have 5 excess CPD units at the time of the renewal of your license, you can carry over the excess to the next renewal cycle only. So therefore, there were limitations that has been set also with this particular guidelines. Further, when we talk about the approval of the CPD program, this particular resolution highlighted that if the CPD program was submitted, of course, with complete documentary requirements attached to it, to the board or to the CPD council, to the CPD council, it shall be deemed approved. Deemed approved within 10 days working or 10 working days from official receipt thereof, if in case there will be no feedback that will be received from the CPD council. Further, in matters of compliance of the CPD requirements, there are programs that are not accredited. And I've heard with this program, KNRIA, this national convention was not accredited. However, you can apply for a credit or a CPD credit for this national convention, but it will be subjected to Section 4, subparagraph 3 of Resolution number 8, allowing only a maximum of 30% SDL. What do you mean by SDL? Self-directed learning, which will correspond to at least or a maximum, of 30% CPD units for the total required CPD units compliance prior to or for the renewal of our license. Meaning, 30%, sabi natin, 15% now is the required CPD units. So only a maximum of 5 credit units can be given as far as availment of the SDL or the self-directed learning. Further, in Section 7 of this resolution, in-house training programs and capacity building activities of all government agencies, including private employers, and which program is exclusively for their employees can be accredited now for the compliance of the CPD requirements. Further, when we talk about completion of the report, the same should be submitted to the Accreditation Compliance Division or to the PRBRS through the Accreditation Compliance Division of PRC after 30 days on the conduct thereof. Because if the provider failed to submit the completion report, then the non-submission thereto shall cause a denial on the future CPD program application that the provider will submit. Likewise, if you ask, when is the effectivity of this resolution? This resolution took effect in July 1 of 2020. In the next slides, I will be discussing resolution number 30 series of 2020. And this is now based on the so-called new normal situations that we have. And this is accepting applications on online programs and likewise conversion of those pre-approved face-to-face or the normal program or training program that most of our providers had conducted. Kaya meron tayong sinasabi diyan, conversion of approved conventional training programs into the so-called online program for the salesperson. The salient feature of this resolution mandates now that the training program for the salesperson entry level, I would like to emphasize entry level, because entry level is for the new applicants or for those who would like to be accredited as a salesperson. There is a distinction between the entry level and the CPD compliance. As I've said earlier, for the salesperson renewal, it will be 5 units. This time, in the entry level, it is not credit units, but it will be corresponding to 12 hours real estate brokerage training or seminar for real estate salesperson. The provision of this resolution specify that for the salesperson to comply the course, there were topics that was mentioned that should be required or considered mandatory as far as the real estate brokerage seminar for salesperson is concerned. There will be 3 hours discussion for RA 9646 or the famous RESA, 2 hours for the Code of Ethics and Responsibilities, 2.5 hours for real property taxation. Take note, real property taxation refers to the tax provision of RA 7160. Another 2.5 hours pertaining to the topic of real estate taxation, and these are the tax provision pertaining to real property under Republic Act 8424 as amended by Train Law. And the last topic would be documentation and titling for 2 hours. Further, when we talk about this resolution, the instructors or the one that will lecture in those topics that I had mentioned must be considered competent, proficient, expert in, take note, in actual professional practice in connection with the real estate brokerage. And that's why the board believe that there is a need to recommend preferred speakers on the different subjects. So in the case of RESA, it was recommended that the speaker there should either be a lawyer, a real estate consultant, or a person with expertise and in authority to discuss RA 9646. Likewise, for the Code of Ethics and Responsibilities, the speaker here could be a broker who has at least 5 years, not only experience, but also 5 years as a licensed and a registered broker. In matters of the tax provision or the real property tax, meaning the tax provision under RA 7160, the preferred speakers there are the incumbent assessors or the assistant assessors or their designate. And likewise, in real estate taxation, we prefer or we recommended to have a preferable speaker who are an incumbent official of the Bureau of Internal Revenue or its designate or a certified public accountant. And for titling and documentation, there was a reference as far as preferred speaker on the Register of Deeds or its designate, or a lawyer, or a licensed and registered real estate broker of at least 5 years experience and have at least 3 years actual experience in titling and documentation. Why is that so? It is because of the fact that we want our salesperson or prospective accredited salesperson be familiar on what is really in the field when we talk about real estate brokerage practice. And that's why the board believes that it is important, which is also part of the guidelines of PRC, that the speakers there should be accredited by the board. Exception to that accreditation requirement are those personnel from the government agencies on the areas where I have mentioned. They are from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, from the local government unit, and the Registry of Deeds. Further, to practically eliminate or minimize all those complaints and issues pertaining to very expensive seminar, the board, based on the guidelines of the PRC, had recommended the computation of the training fees. And the board, in that resolution, simply came out with a formula. It should be not more than, or maybe less, of 120% of the total expenses divided by the target number of participants. Or maybe we can say it in another way. Whatever is the total or projected total expenses or budget expenses for the seminar, you multiply it with 120% and divide it with the projected number of participants. Now, likewise, that resolution mandates that the maximum training or the maximum participants of the salesperson or the real estate brokerage seminar for salesperson should only be 100 participants. Further, that resolution mandates the submission of completion report, which should not or should be submitted within 10 days after the conduct of the program. When this resolution was published, there were provisions there on its effectivity, but the resolution said that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon signing. So therefore, when it was published, there was an effectivity there that was mentioned immediately, and the date of the effectivity of resolution number 30 was October 23, 2020. In the next slide, you will see there resolution or PRBRS resolution number 1, series of 2021. What is this resolution all about? This is practically designating the CPD council alternates and as well as the CPD evaluators and monitors. And that's why I believe most of our professionals or real estate service practitioners or professionals that had seen the memorandum that the board, and including the resolution that the PRC had released, mentioning the names of those alternates as well as the CPD monitors and evaluators. And what is the function here of the CPD Council alternate? Alternates will assume the functions of the CPD Council in their absence. And in the matters of the evaluators and the monitors, they have to make sure that the approved program or the approved CPD program are properly implemented, among other functions that they have to perform. And you have to remember, if you are considered a CPD evaluator and monitor, once you attend or evaluate a CPD program, whatever was the approved CPD units as a monitor and evaluator, you will get double. Meaning, if the approved CPD program or CPD units for that program is 15, then as a CPD monitor or evaluator, you will get 30. Of course, subject to the compliance of the reports that you have to submit. How to become a monitor? Go to PRC, PRBRS, email, allow yourself or maybe request your association also to register you or to endorse your professionals to be part of the CPD monitors. By the way, soon, depending upon the schedule of the CPD Council, including the CPD Project Management Committee, we will have an orientation and a briefing for all the CPD monitors. Effectivity of this resolution, immediate, when it was signed last January 11, 2021, after its publication. Let's go to the next slide. And this is pertaining to the PRBRS memorandum, which we issued dated January 4, 2021 and March 5 of this year. This was actually made because of the issues and concerns that the board had received in matters of incompetency, alleged incompetency of the speakers. They said, based on the complaint, that there were speakers who are not competent to discuss the topic. There were speakers who did not know how to even reconcile the topic and the content of their presentation materials. And they said some of the participants were better and expert than the speaker. What was the scenario that they had presented? We have here a speaker in taxation who discussed BIR laws, but unfortunately, it did not consider the details as far as RA 8424, but the content of the presentation was only on the tax campaign. Unfortunately, most of the participants in that real estate topic were employees from the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Likewise, if you consider this and you ask, what is there a basis as far as doing the enhancement program for the speakers for the purpose of the renewal of their accreditation? The answer is yes. And that is pursuant to Section 5, Paragraph Q of the powers and functions of the board. And that is to accredit the speakers and the lecturer purposely for upgrading the quality and knowledge of the profession, and as well as to address the issues and concerns pertaining to the inexperience and inadequacy or even incompetency of the speakers in trying to convey the knowledge of the subject that they ought to present. Further, based on March 5 resolution, there was also a directive from the board, or March 5 memo, I'm sorry, there was a directive of the board for those who have other subjects other than the subjects that they had presented during the enhancement program. They have to submit the additional topics or the subjects of expertise or proficiency to be lectured, coupled with or supported by the appropriate evaluation results submitted or given by the participants. This was effective when it was signed on January 4 and March 5 of this year. Next will be about PRC Resolution 1332 series of 2021. This is to address the problems on processing of the salesperson application. This is to address why IDs of salesperson were not immediately released within a specific period as promised by the Commission. So therefore, when the board made presentation to the PRC on the system that we found out to be improved, this was the response of PRC. And this is now the resolution or the guidelines approving the real estate salesperson accreditation. And likewise, this is authorizing regional offices of PRC to process now the accreditation of salesperson, including the immediate releasing of the real estate salesperson accreditation card. This is the so-called now decentralization or the guidelines decentralizing the processing of the salesperson accreditation, including decentralization for the releasing of their IDs. This was effective immediately on March 17, 2021. Let's talk about resolution number 11, series of 2021. And this is now on the guidelines on the implementation of section 31 and 32 under Article 4 of our law. And this is practically the accreditation of salesperson under the direct supervision of the broker. This resolution highlighted the following features. Before processing of salesperson accreditation and renewal is done individually by the salesperson. But in this resolution 11, it is now to be made by the supervising licensed broker or maybe the attorney in fact of that broker. Further, the validity of their accreditation card. In the past, it is valid only for 1 year, but because of this resolution, it will become valid for 2 years, renewable 30 days prior to the expiration of their accreditation card. And likewise, I would like to emphasize for the information of those brokers and maybe for those concerned, under these guidelines in section 4.7, it is only, take note, it is only after the mass taking of the real estate salesperson whose name was included in the resolution approved by the PRBRES that can be allowed to take the so-called mass taking, and only after the mass taking, I'm sorry for that, that they are considered accredited and can already practice the profession, of the real estate brokerage. And after only the mass taking that they can, after register at the SUD. Meaning, if the salesperson had not yet taken the oath and likewise not yet registered at the PRC, they are not allowed to practice the profession. Simply because there are documentary requirements that they have to sign at PRC. And likewise, in the event that the broker will insist the salesperson to practice the profession despite knowledge that they had not taken the oath at PRC, then the salesperson, or the broker, I'm sorry, shall be accountable to the action of the salesperson together with the salesperson. There are grounds under that resolution, particularly in Section 8, on the dislodging. These are grounds and reasons for dislodging. And we have the following. 1, death. 2, resignation. Third one, termination. The other one is abuse or non-performance of the delegated real estate services as stated in the declaration and undertaking. Why is this? And what is this all about? Under these guidelines, the broker should state the delegated services that you want for the salesperson to perform. Kaya hindi lahat na gustong gawin ni salesperson ay pwede niyang magawa because he or she is already accredited. The broker, being the supervising broker, should already delineate what are those matters that he or she would like to delegate to the salesperson in the performance of the real estate brokerage profession. Allowing an authorized, unlicensed, or an accredited salesperson to use the accreditation or the delegating the duties to or functions to non-accredited person. Practicing the real estate brokerage profession prior to the outtaking, as I have said, and not only on the outtaking, even prior to the registration at PRC. Transfer of accredited salesperson to another supervising broker prior to the approval of the dislodging. An ethical conduct in the practice of the real estate brokerage profession. Violations under or violations of RA 9646, its implementing rules, the Code of Ethics and its codification, specifically mentioning Section 38 of RA 9646, and other causes which will disunite or sever the relationship of the accredited broker and the supervising licensed broker. That resolution also mentioned what are the steps and the procedures of dislodging the accredited salesperson, and the dislodging can only made by the supervising licensed broker. Gone are those days that the broker were the one dislodged by the salesperson. It is improper that the salesperson will be the one saying, I would like to dislodge my broker. Mali po yun. It is the broker would say, I am dislodging the salesperson or the accredited salesperson. The system or the guidelines has a unique features when it comes to the control mechanism now of PRC, because each accredited salesperson shall be under now the control or the so-called criteria set by the information computer technology or system of PRC pertaining to the control of the 20. So once you are the supervising broker, nandun na kaagad yung slot ng 20. Pag sumobra yun, automatically hindi papasok sa pangalan mo, but instead it will be rejected in the system. Why? Because we had validated already reports that there are brokers who had more than 20 salespersons. If you ask the board and the PRC, is there a way to increase just like others are doing right now? The answer is no. As long as the RESA is not amended, we have to follow strictly the RESA. That's why we have here the so-called suffix and prefix now, using the number, accreditation number given to the salesperson, and also the license of the broker shall also be considered as a suffix already on that accreditation number. In the same resolution, there was a mandate for the accredited salesperson to wear their accreditation card, and as well as to badge the PRBRS PIN. We have the PRBRS PIN for the salesperson, and that is color green. And in these guidelines, the PRC and the PRBRS has the power to cancel, even confiscate, even withdraw, and refuse renewal as far as the accreditation of the salesperson, again, for the violation or possible violation of RA 9646, its implementing rules, the Code of Ethics, including the declaration that has been signed by the broker and the salesperson, and as well as the corresponding guidelines issued by PRC. And this was effective immediately last March 5, 2021. Likewise, we have to address query pertaining to the CPDAS. What is the CPDAS? That is Continuing Professional Development Transfer System. And that's why PRC, to address all of those, had issued memorandum dated April 14, 2020. And this is giving our client, our professionals, access information, not only the real estate service professionals here, but all the professionals registered at PRC on the access information on the use of the CPDAS. So in matters of the CPDAS, if you'd like to know what is the user's manual of the CPDAS, you can access to our website, cpdas.prc.gov.ph. Or if you are a provider and you would like to know the manual of the providers, then you can go to the website bit.ly CPDAS manual provider. And if you are a professional, by the way, all of us real estate professional and other professionals under the PRC, you should register, or we should register under the CPDAS system. So for the CPDAS, our access will be bit.ly CPDAS manual professional. You can go to that website to be educated and likewise to register, because we are all registered at the CPDAS. Otherwise, if we will not register, whatever CPD units that we will earn, it will not be transferred to the system we're in. It will go also to the monitoring side of the career progression and specialization. On the last part of my topic, I will be discussing resolution number 26 series of 2021, and this is latest. And this is pertaining to the implementing guidelines on the issuance of special and temporary permit in consonance with our implementation in section 23 and 24 of RA 9646. Why thus it necessary for the board and the PRC to issue this resolution pertaining to allowing now foreigners to practice here in the Philippines? This is also to address several complaints. Why are there many foreigners who are now practicing the real estate profession? Anywhere we go, in Apari to Hulo, we can witness foreigners practicing our profession. Maybe we can wonder, what is it? Why are those foreigners now allured to practice the real estate profession? I asked one foreigner here in Cagayan de Oro, and he said, this is a Korean, he said, because there are many or plenty money in real estate. And me being a practitioner, and even all of us as a professional or maybe a developer, we agreed to that. And that's why you will notice there were reconciliations in the law. We had amendments in the AMPLA wherein we have to include the brokers and the developers because of this alluring transactions of our profession, and that has reference to real estate. To discuss the salient feature of these guidelines, it mentioned that no foreign real estate practitioner or professional at that shall be entitled to any privileges under RE 9646 unless the country where this foreigner real estate professional came from will allow Filipino real estate professional to practice within their territorial limits on the same basis, on the same benefits, on the same privileges as a citizen of such foreign country. And that is under section 24 of our law when we talk about the law on reciprocity. But we reconcile the law of reciprocity with section 23 as far as our professional law, which said the STP or the special and temporary permit can only be issued to foreigner, okay, subject to the following condition. Of course, aside from payment of the prescribed fees, the foreigner should follow the regulations and including the law or our own 9646. There were conditions that was set by our law. One, the services of this foreigner is urgently needed. Second, there is no available real estate registered licensed real estate professionals. And the third one, that the purpose of engaging these services is to promote the real estate profession. Take note with the three conditions, the first and the third one can easily be supplied or secured. And they can just easily secure it from those developers who will engage the services of this foreigner. However, the second condition as to the availability of the real practitioners or the real estate professionals registered at that here in the Philippines cannot be easily complied. However, again, facing the reality, there is a need for the board, including the PRC, to act on this matter. And that's why in our resolution number 26 series of 2021, we protected the real estate professional. And that's why we require, or the board had required, that before we will grant the STP for this foreigner real estate professional should look for the accredited practicing real estate professional as a counterpart before we will grant the STP. And likewise, there was a requirement as part of the supporting documents that a copy of the memorandum of agreement between the Filipino real estate professional and the foreign real estate professional should submit to the board, and that agreement should state the scope of their work assignment, including the agreement of the professional fee. So therefore, bahala na yung Filipino counterpart at saka foreigner to agree on whatever sharing scheme as to their professional fee. In section 4 of that resolution, the STP shall be valid only for 1 year upon issuance, and it can be renewed within 30 days prior to expiration, up to another 1 year. So in totality, the validity of the STP, if ever renewed, subject to the compliance of the requirements of the CPD, the professional indemnity bond, if it is applicable, is only up to the maximum of 2 years. And we also put a cap, kasi hindi naman pwede na 1,000 foreigner, isang tao lang ang pwede niyang counterpart. So we also put a cap, meaning there will only be allowed 5 professional foreigner for every licensed practitioner per discipline. Meaning, if you are a licensed broker, you can only allowed to have 5 foreign counterpart. That's a broker. If you are an appraiser, you are only allowed to have 5 foreign appraiser counterpart. So dalawa lisensya mo, di dalawa. Meaning, 5 sa broker, 5 sa appraiser, 10 na po yun lahat. If you are also a real estate consultant, so therefore, entitled ka pa rin sa 5. So therefore, magiging 15. Pero if you possess only either 2 of the 3, then you have a maximum of 10 foreign real estate professional as a counterpart. In this law, as part of the control measures, the International Affairs Office of PRC were required to do the monitoring, and therefore there should be an official roster of the foreign real estate professional every 2 months. Effectivity, sabi ko nga kanina, latest. This is April 2021, which is considered to be the immediate implementation of our guidelines. So you will see, to conclude and to summarize, take note your board is doing its best to really implement the mandate of our law. We may have came out with resolutions on specific provisions, but rest assured, the board together with the PRC, we are helping our professionals. We are trying our best to implement the law, and likewise, we will continue to implement the law prior to its amendments. For that, I say thank you and mabuhay ang NRIA. Mabuhay po tayong lahat, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Ma'am Pilar.
Okay.
Banaag.
So, in behalf of NRIA, we of course would like to thank the excellent presentation of our Honorable Pilar Torres Banaag on the policy program, and more particularly the continuing professional education. Rest assured, Honorable Pilar Banaag, NRIA, with half of its educators, lecturers, and speakers responded to your call for the enhancement training program. Thank you for all the projects that you have advocated. Moving on to our open forum, I would like to introduce one of our moderators, Attorney Christopher Ryan Tan, the legal counsel of the Organization of Socialized and Economic Housing Developers, Inc., or OSDAP, and currently the president of CHAIRS. Attorney Christopher Ryan Tan, or for short, Ryan, is an appraiser and a lawyer by profession. Ryan is also the past president and now the board of director of OSDAP, and concurrently the president of Houseland Group and Management, partner also of URT Law. He is a licensed real estate broker, real estate appraiser, and a lawyer by profession. He took up his political science degree at UP Diliman in 2001 and the Juris Doctor degree from the Ateneo de Manila Law in 2005. He also attended an executive course in international housing finance at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania in 2013.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sir Ryan Tan. For our second moderator, we also have a lawyer who rose from the ranks of 2006 to 2008. She started her career as a lawyer, having served as an associate of Villanueva Caña and Associate. She was also the tax consultant of Constantino Guadalquiver and Company, and was moved to Senior Associate of Fortune Narvasa and Salazar. She also headed the Corporate Secretarial Services and Taxation Department of TMF Philippines Incorporated, and as Deputy Legal Head for Litigation, Contracts, and Documentation Labor, Century Properties Group Incorporated. And in 2013 to date, she became the Legal Director of First Park Homes Incorporated. Currently, she is now serving as the 2021 SHDA Board of Governor, First Vice President and Chair, National Convention Committee, Co-Chair of BOI Committee. We welcome Attorney Joy Z. Manao.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So, good morning, Enrea. Good morning to all our morning speakers and everyone here. We thank our speakers for their very informative discussion. I'm happy to be joined here by Attorney Ryan Tan as my co-moderator. We see that there are already questions coming in the chat box. We will try to ask all of your questions as much as we can. But in case you're unable to because of time constraints, Enrea will try to get back to you on your questions. With our open forum, I guess I will throw our first question to Director Pam of PLGF and Attorney Palliser of ORTA. Ma'am, sir, what is the most critical issue relating to the housing industry that you are looking at right now? And what are the reforms that your agency intends to provide to address that issue?
Attorney Joy and Attorney Ryan, can I have ARTA presenter, Attorney Marco, answer it first before we answer it, because I know that the question relates to regulation more. Attorney Marco.
Thank you, Director Pam. Basically, as to the processing of the housing projects, the issuance of permits, everything, insofar as regulation is concerned, the real problem that, this goes across all government processes actually. The real problem is that government agencies are prone to working in silos. And this has been the basic the basic problem. That's why we have red tape, not necessarily done intentionally by the government agencies, but because of the bureaucracy. And since we recognize that problem or issue right now, then the program Nehemiah, initiated by Director General Belica, seeks to address that problem, whereby all government agencies are grouped into sectors, and that they are to streamline their processes all together within 52 weeks, and to reduce the cost requirements, the processing time by 52%. And some sectors have already made progress already. We've seen that in the telco, and in the housing, we're still working on it, but we're going there. We're getting there. There's already we're already in the finalization of the GMC, and the idea is instead of going or doing the processing in a lateral process, which is after one government agency, you go to another government agency, and then to another government agency. Our response to that is to process all applications simultaneously by all government agencies. We just have to create a one-stop shop, create a unified application form, a single window approach in processing the applications, so that with the simultaneous applications by government agencies, then we can address that problem. And I think the most responsive action to that is sharing of data, and that is part of our presentation. We noticed that government agencies are not talking to one another. They don't share data, and I think one of the basic reasons is offhand they think that they're violating the Data Privacy Act. But when we consulted the National Privacy Commission, they said that well, sharing of data is not really illegal. You just have to set the parameters. You have to set the safety precautions or safety mechanisms are in place, and and enter into a data sharing agreement with one another. So basically, the government agencies have to talk to one another so that the transacting public will not do the burdensome processing of going from one agency to another. And thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Marco, for that. So as a follow-through, Attorney Joy and Attorney Ryan, that's very much correct. We have to talk to each other. That's the reason why the oversight agencies of the LGUs, namely, who are they? That's the DILG, that's the DBM, that's NEDA. We're now issuing policies altogether, because if we're not going to do that, then we might have overlapping. Again, the problem of policies that's overlapping, or just looking at the silo mentality, as mentioned by Attorney Marco, will not be addressed. So we're issuing policies jointly by the oversight agencies.
Thank you, Attorney Balicer.
May I say something about it? May I say something about it?
Go ahead po.
In the aspect of real estate, this is my personal view. And you're talking about the critical issues relating to housing industry. Maybe the critical aspect of it is the increase of our backlog. However, with the activities that the DSUD are doing right now, headed by Secretary Del Rosario, it seems there will be solutions on the housing backlog. Solutions to that extent that they will soon zero in the housing backlog, and there will be more subdivision or housing projects that will exist in this country. The other issues that I'm looking at is pertaining to the practice of our profession. For sure, there will be a lot of opportunities for the salesperson, the brokers, and even our other colleagues, the consultant, and maybe the appraisers also, when there will be more houses to be developed. However, and I'm sorry I have to say this, these are feedbacks that we got from our brokers. And maybe this is an opportune time, since there are many developers here, to bring these issues. Kasi we're looking on avenue where we can raise this. They were appealing to please release their professional fees or commission on time. They were appealing not to release it on a staggered basis or installment basis. Because in reality, the professional services of our brokers had already been completed when there were consummation and perfection of the transactions. And that is where their professional fee is due. This is my appeal for that. And as to the concern that there might be increase on illegal practices, I agree with my other colleagues here who talk about the interagency help or support mechanism. Right now, I'd like to advance the information that PRC is a member of the task force. This is an interagency task force created or initiated by the DSUD against the so-called anti-illegal real estate transactions. PRC is one of the member, and later on, being a member, PRC will help to contribute the policies and program of that task force. Rest assured, the board also will be trying its best to protect the professionals as far as the mandate of our law, particularly to do something on the illegal and the unethical and the colorum practices. Initially, that is my input. Thank you, po.
Director Pa.
Yes, Attorney Ryan.
Okay. Attorney Joy, no, allow me to first commend all our speakers for a very substantive presentation this morning and high energy at that. And that is my cue to actually address the next question to Director Pam, our probably the most energetic speaker this morning. There was a question in the chat box, Director Pam, wherein the query is on how BLGF could probably impose or convince or probably ensure our local government units to follow certain policies that were already adopted by BLGF. An example cited was the treatment of common areas in subdivisions being exempt from transfer tax. Out of that comment, I'd like to ask two questions. First, what is the settled is it settled law already with regard to open spaces, parks, playgrounds, even roads, and their tax treatment, and whether or not the LGU, and that's my second question, can refuse to accept if refuse donation if some of these real property taxes have not been paid? Director?
Attorney Ryan, I know that part of that question is from Mr. Bansan Chowa, if I'm not mistaken. First is, I'd like to address again that the policy that we are issuing, as much as possible, it will have to be interagency, because as you have seen in our mandate in the first few slides that we flashed earlier, we have technical and administrative supervision over treasurers, only technical supervision over assessors, and definitely no administrative supervision over sanggunian and local chief executive. That's the reason why, Attorney Ryan, Attorney Joy, that we co-sign with DILG, kasi that's where we need the help of DILG in making sure that the LGUs, whatever policy that we have to issue, is also being supported by the sanggunian and the local chief executive. Now, to go to your question on this is on donation, right? Yes. Yes, of course, if it's not yet donated, Attorney Ryan, to the LGUs, it's taxable. I think it's settled in there. Are LGUs, can they refuse? I think that's the question that you are raising. Attorney Ryan, they have autonomous stature, so they have to decide on themselves if they have to accept this donation. Kasi if it's already donated, Attorney Ryan and Attorney Joy, then it becomes exempt in the role of the assessors. Yun po kasi yung rules nun doon. And then, yes, we are also, we are now addressing, sana Mr. Bansan, you'll be happy with this. We have already a draft policy on condominium. I think it was mentioned in the chat box and also with you, Attorney Ryan. Paano yung condominium? Alam naman natin, may exemption doon. Yes, we're addressing that. We have a draft policy and we are doing the focus group discussion already. We're starting with the leagues because it's part of the policy process, Attorney Ryan and Attorney Joy, that we have to expose these draft policies before we officially release and approve it, making sure that we are operating within the mandate of the law.
Thank you po, Director. Attorney Joy?
Thank you, Director Pam. I think Sir Bansan Chowa would like to add something. Sir Bansan.
Thank you very much, Director Pam. You know, that question have to be asked because this is a normal problem that most of the developers are encountering now. You know naman what was the answer before. Because there was already a precedent in some local government, but some of the assessor or the treasurer insisted to get a separate exemption project. Kaya that is my question talaga. Since the BLGF have already given permission that it should be tax exempt, then there should be a general memo addressed to everybody. Kasi ang nangyayari, it takes time for somebody to get an exemption. And you know naman, if it keeps on delaying, the problem of the developer will never end. as long as you do not transfer the title to them, then you are still obligated even you have your certificate of completion. Kasi that is the procedural problem. Kaya nga sabi ko, I have to ask that question, not only for me, because I've done my job already. I've finished that particular transaction. Okay? Pero alam mo, there are a lot of other people that are really concerned because of this problem. We're talking about a big amount of money here. We're talking about the association dues and the maintenance cost of the entire project until the project have been conveyed to the condominium corporation. I think for the interest of not only the developer, also for the broker, kasi nga, tatanungin din yan ng mga buyers sa kanila eh. How come we still have to pay when it is not yet turned over? I think that's the real reason. Pero alam ko naman, Director Pam, but I have to ask it. Alam ko na rin naman ang sagot. And I thank you very much. I think according to Honorable Arnie, the department is now preparing something that can be given to all of the agency, not only to the particular treasurer, but also to the other government agencies. Now, Honorable Pilar, I'm very sorry. I have to refute your question about why do we need to pay the broker on a staggered basis. And I am sorry also to tell you that it is not always the problem of a developer. It is always sometimes also the problem of the broker. Do you know that you can only consummate a sale when you take the full takeout? Signing a document to buy a property does not consummate the sale. It is only the first step. And if you do not submit document for you to be able to take it out, there's no developer that will give you the full commission. May tanong ako sa inyo, Honorable Pilar. We have been together for so many years. Alam naman natin yan. Pareho din naman tayong developer, pareho din naman tayong naging broker. Have you heard of so many instances that the broker ran away with the money of the developer? There are many cases about that. So why not blame it only on the developers? You also have to consider that the broker is also responsible to do the things that they are supposed to do. Ito ang masasabi ko. I think we have to be fair to both sides. We cannot only be in one side lang. We are a real estate industry which composes of developer, broker, salesperson, consultant, and even appraiser. I don't think it is just to say that the developer should be blamed not giving the broker the full commission upon consummation. Because consummation will only happen when I take my full payment from the buyer. There are a lot of instances that a sale was not consummated because the buyer backed out, the buyer were not able to get a loan, the buyer were not able to pay the monthly amortization. So why will you ask the developer to pay the broker immediately? Yun lang ang tanong ko. Yung ibang question ka naman, I put
May I
it in the chat.
respond on that?
Go ahead po, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not accusing the developer. I'm just giving echo or feedback on the concerns of the broker. And if the developer knew what is best as far as the releasing the commission, then it is also your decision. I'm not arguing on your policies on that. I'm just making representations of our professional who brought all of these concerns to the PRBRS. That's why I relayed it. So, nasa inyong policy yan, sir. Hindi ko kayo ina-argue dyan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Attorney Joy, kaya nga napaka-importante ng mga ganitong convention dahil as true to the one-stop concept of NREA, we have this kind of healthy exchange and dialogue na at least both sides are presented and both sides will also have to be reminded of their responsibilities to each other. So thank you po BM Pilar, Director Pam, and Sir Bansan Choa. siguro if you would permit me, we will move. Can I move on now to another question? Kay Attorney Marco, sulitin na natin habang nandito rin tayo sa topic ng ARTA. The creation of ARTA was an offshoot of the Ease of Doing Business Act, but the anti-red tape concept, it has been there for more than a decade. Sir, do you have information as to the enforcement of the original ARTA and now the Ease of Doing Business? Were there public officials or public servants that have been held accountable to certain acts, and would you be able to share them with us?
Thank you, Attorney Ryan. For the, as to the previous law, 9485, if I'm not mistaken, the old Anti-Red Tape Act,
Yes.
I don't think we have the figures yet of the people who were probably dismissed or suspended, but we are on the process of collating all those information. What I can provide, Attorney, actually is the cases that ARTA has filed already. If I'm not mistaken, there are about 19 or 23 cases actually. And recently, by the way, just to inform everyone, this is very timely. ARTA has filed cases, I think last Friday, against 4 register of deeds of various cities. One of which I think many of these RDs are from NCR. So that's okay. That's the update, most recent update. And ARTA is actually it has lined up cases which are to be filed this coming weeks. As to the cases that we have already filed, there are register of deeds or with against whom we have filed cases against, and there were, I think, 2 officials from the office of the building official who were entrapped. This is in Taguig, the OBO of Taguig. So they were entrapped. They were conducting fixing. So the criminal case against these officials are currently ongoing, but while the case is ongoing, they were already dismissed by the OBO. And then there are various cases as well. It ranges. There is governor, the highest local chief executive in an LGU. So we filed a case against a particular governor, against the mayor. We also filed cases against in DOE. We filed cases against a particular director there and some officials. Many of these were due to delays, complaints of delay, complaints of, for some there were allegations of fixing. If it's an allegation of fixing, we conduct an entrapment operation. So these are the personalities that were indicted. But by the way, during also in some instances, there were cases where the agency itself imposes the penalty. We don't have to file the case. Well, we filed the case. We'll be filing a case against this official, but in the interim, the office, this is the LTO of Taguig, they immediately suspended I think the chief there in LTO Taguig was suspended because when we conducted an surprise inspection, they were implementing a cutoff, which is not allowed by law. So after that inspection, we were informed by LTO that they suspended already the chief, and but definitely a case will be filed against that official. So those are just some of the cases, sir. And as I mentioned, you can stay tuned in the news because there are cases lined up already to be filed by ARTA this coming weeks.
Thank you very much, Attorney Marco. But by the way, pwede ho bang anonymous complaint and meron ho bang similar to a witness protection program sa ARTA for any complaining who would be discouraged because of some influence or authority?
Attorney Ryan, for the anonymous complaints, yes, we do accept anonymous complaints. We just need pieces of evidence that you can provide, what will definitely keep your identity confidential or anonymous. But as to the witness protection, we are actually working on that. Our officials are actually working on that because based on our experience, when we started in ARTA and when we handled these complaints, especially the should I say more sensitive ones, which involves corruption, there are, well, most, if not all, the complainants are asking for what happens to their safety if they speak up. And that really is a challenge even for ARTA because we have to, we really value the complainants who speak out and who approaches ARTA, but yeah, we have to consider also their safety and their fear of retaliation when the officials get to know their identities. And offhand, if the government official retaliates, then we can still file subsequent actions against them. But still, at the end of the day, we are also looking into the practicality of having security for these witnesses. But that is one of the considerations of the authority of ARTA. One basic, the remedy that we can think of is that ARTA will stand as the complainant itself. So we'll proceed with the case on our own and just get information from the complainant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney.
Attorney Joy, very informative, Attorney Joy?
Very. Okay, so let me ask the next question for Mr. Alvin Bermido of AMLC. Sir, you mentioned that registration is still ongoing for real estate developers, brokers, and other covered persons. May we know what will happen if there are developers and brokers who are unable to register prior to the deadline? And another question, the AMLC provide trainings to compliance officers regarding the reporting guidelines?
Yes, good morning, Attorney Joy. On the first question, we have to inform that we have extended the registration. It was originally set last March 30, but due to the we understand that the law has just been passed last January 30, so we extended indefinitely. But after that, we have to revisit our supervisory plan because we need actually to cover the real estate brokers and developers, and also we will have some enforcement measures as well. And for the compliance officers, the registration is actually parallel. We have been conducting various trainings, awareness raising campaign, and fundamental AML courses for the last 2 months with the other topics on registration. And we have also posted the link here so that for ease and the use of the covered person. So there's an ongoing training. Please visit our website regularly as we will be posting our June and May and June schedule training in coordination with the group of Ma'am Pilar. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Ryan, do you have any more questions?
Yeah. BM Pilar, I have several questions from the chat box, but let me throw a question personally from me. Thank you for everything that you've been doing in the board and how we see the raising up of the quality of our real estate professionals. My question would be on the on the elusive accredited and integrated professional organization. We know that the profession as a whole, as an integral whole, would not be complete without an IPO. May we know updates? May we ask you for updates on this front? And what is the vision and leadership of the board pertaining to establishing the IPO for our profession?
That is provided in Section 34, Attorney Ryan. And although this is not much part of my topic, but I'm glad to answer so that you will have an update. One is the board is really pursuing for the IPO, because we know IPO is very important. Aside from the fact that it is stated in the law, it is very important now in all the things that we are doing at PRBRES, particularly in the implementations of the CPD, including the career progression as provided under RA 10968. Before the end of last year, the board had already recommended to PRC to open up or to accept applications for the IPO. It was set last October 31 of last year. And since nobody had applied, it was moved last December of last year. Again, nobody applied because accordingly, they were not qualified on one of the requirements as set by PRC guidelines 2018-1089. And that is the association who will apply for the IPO must have at least 50% plus one or majority of their members must be a duly registered and licensed professional. Vis-a-vis, we look at the figures. We have more than 30,000 as far as the brokers is concerned, coupled with the appraisers of 3,000 plus and less than 300 for the consultant. But we consider the baseline for the brokers because we know we have brokers who are consultant and who are also appraisers. Thus, looking at, we need to have about 16,000 plus or maybe about 17,000 for the interested applicant to become an IPO. And since that particular requirement was based on PRC resolution, we made an appeal and already talked to the commission proper to reconsider of reducing the 50% plus one. And that was our latest discussion last March of this year. So we are waiting for the approval of our resolution that the PRC will reconsider to reduce the minimum requirement of 50 plus one. Hopefully, if that will be granted, we will pursue to organize the IPO. That's all. That's the update.
Thank you. Very important update, especially for those who are interested to know what is happening there. BM Pilar, as I said, there are a lot of questions in the chat box, and this is perhaps an opportunity to clarify one point you've made earlier. With regard to those who are abroad, I think the clarification is whether or not the foreigners or Filipinos abroad are exempted from CPD. The idea here is that those who are actually not in the Philippines should probably be required, given that everything is now done online and location may no longer matter. Would you like to clarify, BM Pilar, is this for Filipinos abroad or foreigners or both?
That is for Filipinos because Filipinos are now registered at PRC. We are not yet registering foreigners here. So therefore, all those Filipino real estate brokers, appraisers, and consultants working abroad are exempted from CPD compliance. Not the foreigners yet, because we have not yet, PRC have not yet registered professionals from abroad or the real estate or foreign real estate professionals.
Yes, thank you. And then another question from our listener. Ma'am, is it possible to renew my accreditation renewal through our PRC satellite offices, and how long will be the release of the PRC ID?
As I have mentioned, PRC had already issued Resolution 1332 for the RESAS, that is Real Estate Salesperson Accreditation at the PRC Regional Office. That's why even the issuance of that guidelines on RESAS, the salesperson can actually apply for the renewal of their accreditation through the regional offices. But the old system was, it will be forwarded to Manila for the licensure department for the evaluation. But this time, with the issuance of the RESAS, they can have it processed at the PRC regional offices. As to the when to release, because we have the changes now wherein the PRC regional offices can already facilitate the releasing of the ID upon proper coordination. Once the resolution by the board, approved by the commission, accrediting the salesperson will be released, then they can already facilitate the request of having the mandatory oath-taking as required under Section 25 of our law. And we had set several mass oath-taking schedules already. So if they had complied all the basic requirements, definitely with the new system now, the PRC can release the ID immediately. Actually, the target is kung mabilis nating may release yung ID ng ating mga professionals, hindi lang sa real estate, kailangang lahat kasama si salesperson mabilis nang mai-release. And that is one of the reason bakit po nagpalabas ng guidelines si PRC.
Thank you, ma'am. And I hope nasagot natin yung tanong ng listener, which I think nasagot naman. Ma'am, we've noted, BM Pilar, that as far as the board is concerned, we will try to enforce the law as enacted. No? But we are also aware that there were efforts or measures introduced in Congress to introduce several amendments. They say that the agency mandated to implement is in the best position to see what areas to improve on. BM Pilar, do you have thoughts on certain areas in the RESA law to be amended, and why do you think these are important?
Number one is, kung titingnan po ninyo, PRBRES, to be honest about it, and PRC is open for the amendments of the RESA. I personally believe that there's a need to amend the RESA because I know there's no perfect law. No perfect law as far as our territory is concerned, and even other countries, there's no such perfect law. There are provisions in the RESA that we found na meron ding problema, and these are the areas that the board are considering. That's why next week we will be having a meeting, and we have to address our comments. We have to practically finalize our stand when it comes to the amendments of the RESA. Personally, I'm not bringing the name of the board, but personally, I agree on the recommendations to, if it will be approved, that we have to properly define our IPO. And that's why, looking at the recommendations or the proposed amendments, there was a proposal there to have 3 IPOs considering we have 3 disciplines. Momentarily, although we explored the possibility kung magawa ba natin yan ngayon sa present setup, but unfortunately, our law said only 1 integrated, accredited and integrated. That's why we cannot do it specifically, 1 for the brokers, 1 for the appraisers, and 1 for the consultant. But me personally, if ever that particular amendments will be given a chance, I will agree and support for that. Another thing in the provisions on the proposed amendments of Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez, particularly in House Bill 8121, if I still got it right, sana tama, there was a proposal there for a mandatory services of the brokers and appraisers and consultants. And I think these are the clamor of our professional. You can see even in Facebook sinasabi, sana mandatory PRBRES, mag-request kayo ng, gawa kayo ng order na mandatory na lahat. Although the board, together with PRC, we've been exploring some discussions with other government agencies of which doon sa ginawa natin sa appraiser, sa government, sa civil service, ayun ang option together with DLGF. Yung ginawa na rin nating effort sa DILG, mandatory, mandating already pag dumaan sa LGU, kailangan lahat ang magpa-process doon ang real estate brokers pagdating doon sa processing. Ang hindi pa lang namin makuha talaga ang nod, yung sa LRA natin, Kasi sabi sa amin, nung nakipag-usap kami sa LRA, give us a law as a basis. Although we insisted that Section 37 of our law is already justifiable, requesting government agencies to help us implement the mandate of the law, but accordingly, it is not yet satisfactory. We made representations already as far as the BSP when it comes to appraisers in the bank, but yet we cannot also force them because they have their own guidelines. Kaya nga, when it comes to the amendments of the RESA on the appraisers, yun, susuporta ko doon. It's not because that I am also a licensed appraiser, but these are things that we have to do now because I have seen some companies that they were engaging the services of a person who are not even a licensed appraisers. And kasi nga sabi doon sa provision na yon, and I forgot what is that number, kasama yata si consultant. So later on, if it will be materialized, we will expect that the services also of a licensed consultant will be indulged. In matters of education, in matters of offering a bachelor's degree, the law does not preempt or even the PRBRES. We are supporting the continuance of the BSREM program because that is required under the law. But nonetheless, based on our inspection, we also found out that the present offering now of the BSREM program is not sufficient, particularly on the subjects. Can you imagine there in the program, you have to study in 4 years, na kailangan kasama doon si consultant subjects, and yet based on experience, bago ka mag-aral o mag-review ng consultant in preparation for the consultant's examination, you have to have at least 10 years experience. And based on our inspection with schools that offer the BSREM, the subjects there are not substantial, to be honest. And that's why I'm so happy to see the proposed amendments that it can be simplified. The BSREM as a generic course can be simplified now into a Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Brokerage for those who will be taking the broker's exam, Bachelor of Science in Appraisers for those who will be taking the appraiser's examination, and a master's degree for those who will be taking the consultant. And these are part of the amendments that had been proposed and others. Okay, sasabihin ko na lang yung iba and others kasi baka maubos yung oras ninyo if I will go to this.
Maraming salamat po, BM Pilar.
We support for the amendments, maybe subject to some modification as the board will come out its stand later on. Thank you, Attorney Ryan.
Maraming salamat, BM Pilar, and thank you for being gracious. At sana mahaba ang oras, Attorney Joy. Ang dami nating pwede pang pag-usap. Ang dami ko pa rin pwedeng itanong sa iba. But Attorney Joy?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for all our speakers. We will wrap up now our open forum, and we'll turn it now to the host. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
always in search of something better. Better jobs, better lifestyle, better investments. Here at Forest Lake, we offer you an alternative, an extraordinary, and a better experience through My Forest Lake portal. Our online portal gives you access to viewing and purchasing of memorial lots safely and conveniently from your home. It provides a place where you can centralize the management of your memorial lot investments with easy access to customer information and services. Registering in My Forest Lake is easy. Just follow these 3 easy steps. Creating a new account is simple. Go to www.forestlakememorialparks.com. Click on Customers on the upper right corner of the site and you will be directed to the My Forest Lake Customer Portal. Step 1. Click the link and fill out the form or register using your Facebook account by simply clicking on Login with Facebook. Step 2. Input necessary details as needed. And click Next. Step 3. Verify your mobile phone or registered email. Congratulations! You have successfully registered your account. Enjoy a faster, easier, and more secure way of managing your Forest Lake investment at the palm of your hands. View and purchase lots within the safety and comfort of your home. Take advantage of online services exclusive to registered customers. No more long lines when paying your dues. You can now pay through our secure payment options and documented online transactions. You can even chat with our customer service representatives for any concerns. Convenient, right? For inquiries, email us at customerportal@forestlakeparks.com or contact our branch office. Sign up now and start enjoying a better online experience now with Forest Lake. Visit www.forestlakememorialparks.com or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Sign up today and start your investment journey with Forest Lake.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our speakers and moderators with high caliber. For that, we may call on our Chair Emerita Marisa Del Mar for the presentation of certificates of our speakers.
Yeah.
We have Ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Amela P. Kiason. Signed, yours truly, Chair Emerita and Chair Lady Board of Advisors, Marisa Del Mar. Our National President, Ms. Imelda Magtoto. Thank you so much. I cannot see all. It's not no, it's not so good. Thank you so much, Ms. Pamela Quizon, for this wonderful presentation of yours. We wish to have more of you. And the certificate of appreciation is given to Mr. Alvin Bermido. Ms. Alma, can you please continue? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. In behalf of our Chair Emerita, we read this certificate of appreciation. This certificate is proudly presented to Mr. Alvin L. Bermido. In sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as a special guest during the NAREA DSUD 25th National Convention online, Rising Above the Housing and Health Challenges on May 21, 22 to 2021 via Zoom and NAREA Philippines Facebook Live. This is signed by our Secretary General, Mr. Ronnie B. Biando, our National President, Ms. Imelda C. Magtoto, our Chair Emerita and Chair Lady of Board of Advisors, Marisa Del Mar, and of course, our Board Chairman, Mr. Benigno T. Cabriote Jr. This certificate of appreciation also goes to our speaker, Honorable Dr. Pilar Torres Banaag. We proudly present this certificate of appreciation in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as a special guest and speaker during the NAREA DSUD 25th National Convention online, Rising Above the Housing and Health Challenges on May 21 to 22, 2021 via Zoom and NAREA Philippines Facebook Live. Signed by our Secretary General Ronnie B. Biando, our National President Imelda C. Magtoto, our Chair Emerita, Chair Lady of the Board of Advisors Marisa Del Mar, and Board Chairman Benigno T. Cabrieto Jr.
Thank you po.
This certificate of appreciation is also proudly presented to Attorney Jeremiah B. Belhica, real estate broker and environmental planner, in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as a special guest and speaker during the NAREA DSUD 25th National Convention online, Rising Above the Housing and Health Challenges on May 21 to 22, 2021 via Zoom and NAREA Philippines Facebook Live. Signed by our Secretary General Ronnie B. Biando, our National President Imelda C. Magtoto, Chair Emerita and Chair Lady Board of Advisors, Ms. Marisa Del Mar, and our Board Chairman Benigno T. Cabrieto Jr. Sir.
On behalf of
For
DG
the
Bellica,
moderators, may I call on our Vice President for Internal Affairs, Mr. Jovi Tupas.
Yes, a message from the Office of Attorney Bellica.
yes, yes, on behalf of Director General Bellica and the rest of the officials of the Anti-Red Tape Authority, we extend our gratitude to NREA and congratulations for the success of your event today. Again, God bless everyone and stay safe.
Thank you very much from the Office of Attorney Bellica, reminding and requesting all our speakers and all our guests to kindly turn on your cameras. So after I read the certificates for our dear and able moderators, we can have our virtual photo opportunity. The National Real Estate Association, on its 30th year as the one-stop trade organization, presents this certificate of appreciation to Attorney Joy Z. Manawag in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as moderator during the NREA DSHUD 25th National Convention, Rising Above the Housing and Health Challenges on May 21 to 22 via Zoom and NREA Philippines Facebook Live, signed by Board Chairman Benigno T. Cabrieto Jr., Chair Emerita Marisa Del Mar, our National President, Ms. Imelda C. Magtoto, and our Secretary General, Mr. Ronnie or Architect Ronnie B. Biando. We also would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Attorney Christopher Ryan Tan in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as moderator during the NREA DSUD 25th National Convention, Rising Above the Housing and Health Challenges on May 21 to 22 by Zoom and NREA Philippines Facebook Live, signed by our Board Chairman Benigno T. Cabrieto Jr., our Chair Emerita Marisa Del Mar, our National President Imelda C. Magtoto, and our Secretary General, Architect Ronnie B. Biando. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So maybe please turn on all our camera for our class picture. While we are having our class picture, please don't forget to register your presence for every session to be part of the raffle this afternoon. We start 1:30.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. We will be seeing you again.
Thank
you
you,
to our
and
speakers.
God bless everyone.
Thank you.
God bless everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Stay
We'll
well
be
and
resuming
safe.
Thank you so
1:30.
much. See
See
you
you at
this
1:30.
afternoon.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Attorney Ryan.
Bless. Thank you to our great speakers, moderators, chapter presidents, the board. Thank you so much. Love you all.
You're welcome, sis. Love you too.
God bless.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Ryan.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Attorney Ryan.